Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and we're back after 2 weeks. 2 weeks gone. I did not plan to be gone that long. Well, I had a store meeting to start on the first Sunday. I had to cancel. And then the second Sunday that we missed, we were supposed to be back, and then about an hour and a half before the show start, power went out. Yeah, the power went out. We were supposed to have Dina Ray on, who's been on the show a long time ago, like 3 years ago. But we'll reschedule her, sadly. I'm so sad. That's the second show I had to reschedule with her. But yeah, power went out. It came on like 15 minutes before the show would have started, but I had no idea. They were saying midnight that night. So I apologize. Hopefully we'll have an audience tonight. People are like, oh, wow, Paranormal Soup. I forgot all about it. It's been gone for 2 weeks, and everybody forgets about us, right? That's how I feel. I missed you guys. I'm in quarantine right now, and my 5-year-old ended up showing a positive COVID result, but just don't panic. He is doing just fine. He had a little bit of a cough, but it's been over a week since he was gotten COVID, and he seems to be doing fine. I'm not positive. I'm negative, but still quarantined. Here I am with you. Thankfully, I am thankful I get to do a show. I need you guys tonight. And I need our guest. Our guest tonight, it's been 4 years since he's been on, is psychic medium Robert Righi. It's also his birthday, so make sure if you call in tonight, you wish him a happy birthday. But Robert Righi's joining us on his birthday tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. He's involved in a couple exorcisms. He interviewed Ted Bundy. I don't think we got to talk to him about that last time, because he's also a criminal profiler. He was a criminal profiler for 30 years in Florida, as well as a psychic medium, and one of the kindest hearts out there I know. He volunteers his time at hospice for children who are passing away, and that's just, I mean, you have to have a huge heart to be able to do that, and man, Robert does. He's a wonderful guy. I can't wait. If you haven't seen him 4 years ago when he was on, well, don't miss out tonight, because he's a great guest. And we will open up the phone lines later in the show for you to call in and talk to Robert. I didn't think to ask if he does any readings on the phone. I don't think he does. But if you want a spiritual question for Robert, or tell us about your experiences, join the conversation tonight. The phone lines will be open later. And, of course, we got a lot of weird to get to. I always keep it at 7 articles, which was hard being gone for 2 weeks. But I got some good stuff, so hang in there. We got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Sorry we've been gone for 2 weeks. We are back, thankfully. Thankfully, our guest, Robert Righi, actually, I think he's in there now. We'll add him here in a second to the panel, is going to join us. And I don't think join us for the World Wide Web of Weird. We'll see if he's here for that. But he will be on after the World Wide Web of Weird for sure for his interview. Joining me, as always, is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you. I was very excited to hear he was coming back tonight. He's such an earth angel and wonderful person.
I know. I mean, like I said, I can't even watch in a movie when a kid dies anymore. Being a parent, I can't do it. You have to be made of some strong stuff to be able to be there for people and be there for the family and to talk to a child in that situation. I can't imagine. Well, Robert was there. I think he backed out. He's probably trying to get his connection right. Joining us as always from St. Augustine, Florida, Rob Autry himself. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Hey, I'm always trying to get my connection right.
Yeah, Robert might have to be on phone tonight. I was telling you this, Rob. He was trying. You'll be Rob. He'll be Robert, just so we know that tonight.
Okay, cool.
He was on sound check and on his phone. Sometimes it works on the StreamYard, sometimes it doesn't. If not, we'll give him a call when the interview starts. But we got a lot to get to in the World Wide Web Weird. It was really hard. I actually kept most of the stuff I had for last Sunday. I added one new thing at the end just to terrorize everybody. Join me in my hypochondriac fear and fear of the government and what they'll do, all that good stuff. That's at the end of the World Wide Web Weird. But there's some really weird stuff that's happened over the last few weeks, and it was a lot to fit into. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird.
Jason, a tip for the phone, make sure he's on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I know. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought we had some catching up to do. I always like to start off some articles that are updates on previous stories we had. And let me adjust my volume there. This one from Unexplained Mysteries is where I got it, but it was all over the place. Remember a few weeks ago or more, I can't remember now, when we covered the submarine that collided with something in the water. Everybody's like, ooh, USOs? Unidentified submerged object did it crash into? Well, that's not what they're saying. Or are they lying? Who do you know? Who do you trust? I'm trying to get my volume right there. There we go. The incident, which involved a U.S. Connecticut submarine, has now been explained. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio network, we are a live webcast you can watch on YouTube, Facebook, or even Twitch. A lot of video gamers there. But hey, come join the weird if you're over on Twitch. But... This story we did cover, and I have an update. The incident, which involved the U.S. Connecticut, generated quite a bit of attention. This is from Unexplained Mysteries. Nope, I had to stream, not remove. There we go. At least in part to the intriguing lack of information regarding the identity of the object that the submarine collided with. According to reports, 11 crew members were injured. However, fortunately, nobody was seriously hurt. Some speculated that the submarine had collided with an enemy vessel, while others maintained that the vessel... sound like Chekhov. The vessel. No. While others maintain that the incident might have something to do with a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, or to be a USO, unidentified submerged object, right? That Navy pilot had previously pursued off the coast of the United States, which was rumored to be capable of operating both in above and below the surface, blah, blah, blah. We already know about the tic-tac. Now, though, according to the results of an investigation in the incident, what the submarine actually collided with was a previously uncharted seamount at the bottom of the South China Sea. Essentially underwater mountains, these often huge structures can be found all over the world and thought to be the remains of extinct underwater volcanoes. They are targets for study by scientists due to their potential to host unique and varied wildlife. They can also prove hazardous to vessels, as it appears to have been the case here. According to the NOAA, there are over 100,000 seamounts over 1 kilometer tall on the ocean floor. However, scientists have so far only explored the tiny fraction of them, less than 0.1%. That I can believe that. I mean, I can believe they don't know where all these things are on the sea floor, but do I believe them? I don't know.
Can't they see those, like on radar or anything? Like a mountain in front of us?
Yeah. It's coming right for us.
We're gonna run right into it.
A vessel. A vessel.
Bag.
I don't know. I guess supposedly not. Supposedly not. You know. I don't know. That's if you trust their explanation. And I'm trying to get my articles back here. I don't know what's going on. Come on now. Stop messing with me. Okay, there we go. All right, let's move on to the next one. This next one, I really would love to show the video. Or Weird Wednesday, you guys showed this. I'm a little cautious, too, because I didn't get a chance to email you. There's a contact email for this video. Somebody bought the rights to it. So I just have a screenshot, 2 of them. There's this one of the gentleman who caught it on his door camera here. And I know we're a little behind. I'm sure some of you guys already saw this. 40-year-old man, Matt Doughty, from Hertfordshire, couldn't believe his eyes when he watched the footage back. Daughtry, along with his friend Kevin, had been sitting at home watching the football on TV, and it'd be soccer here, right? When he received an alert on his phone from his doorbell camera to tell him that someone was outside. When he played back the footage, he expected to see a person standing on his doorstep, but was surprised to discover that the camera had instead been triggered by something in the sky. The object, which consisted of 3 bright lights in a triangular formation, could be seen slowly moving above the house from right to left across the frame. I looked at the footage and played it back, he said. It was silent, 3 lights came from the sky, and I thought it was really weird. When where it comes through the trees, it comes over the house opposite me. The footage captures it coming from the right to left. It disappears over the top of the woodland to the left of my house. It was a bit of a chilling feeling, really. I thought, oh my God, that's quite close. I wondered if I discovered something nobody knows anything about. When I showed Kevin, he said, geez, that looks like a UFO. And yeah, it totally does. There's another image, Rob. It'll say Article 2 as well. I don't know if you can pull that up, because one's a JPEG, one's a PNG. Yeah, that's it. That's more. That's, you know, what it looks like. Now, you got to see the video footage for yourself. You can find us all over. Go to Unexplained Mysteries, Coast to Coast AM. All those places have it. You can watch it on YouTube. You know, Jamie, what was your thoughts? You guys watched this last Wednesday.
Well, I liked how they were able to confirm that there was no air traffic at that time.
Right.
So
If it was
I
a
thought
plane,
that
it'd be
was
pretty
great.
low. It'd be pretty low. You know, I mean, this thing actually looks like it's higher up and big, though. I mean, this looks like the Terry Lovelace triangle, what I would imagine.
I think
I
it looks
noticed it.
pretty authentic.
Yeah, it did kind of change. The lights kind of changed shape a little bit during that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty weird, man.
But they stay together. It has a pretty fluid movement, and they're all together. So I don't think it's like drones. I mean,
No.
I think that's some big object with lights like that.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, let's move on from flying triangles to flying humanoid. This one from Hidden Underbelly. You guys know I love Hidden Underbelly. They're a great YouTube channel on mysterious, odd things like this. This one I just have a screenshot of, you know, just a little bit of it. Go check it out at Hidden Underbelly. A couple in Scotland last week spotted something very unusual flying over their city skyline. When you hear the word UFO, it's easy to jump straight ahead of a flying metallic disc or a bright orb of light in the sky, or however, in reality, it can be any flying object, and we'll get to that in the next article, by the way, by definition, unidentified. The recent example of a rather more unusual shaped UFO comes out courtesy of Lindsay Curry and her boyfriend, who live in Maryhill area of Glasgow, Scotland. Capturing the view from outside their apartment window, they managed to film a very strange, you can go ahead and hit play while I'm reading, very strange object that was flying across the sky going from northwest of Glasgow towards southwest. The object has no obvious means of propulsion and is very odd shaped that almost looks like a figure. Some social media users have speculated it could be some flying a jetpack, which we've had a lot of those in LA. It's a really short clip of it I have. Of course, it's as blurry as it can get, so don't worry. You could zoom in all you want. You wouldn't see much else. There's also some who believe that the footage represents evidence of alien visitors. I don't know if they just be... I don't know. They could be a jetpack guy. I mean, they got the whole jetpack guy thing going on in L.A. Or no, was it in L.A. or Nevada? I can't remember. I think both. I think it was LAX he was flying here. Yeah. So, I mean, it could be. It could be a jetpack guy. I find that flying humanoid things, we've had a lot of those different videos. Back in the day, I found them more interesting. Now I'm like, it could be just like, it could be a drone, it could be a guy in a jetpack. But you know, it's not like everybody's got a jetpack yet in their closet. You think you have to register that, and you know, I don't know.
Unless you're a jetpack guy, and then you wouldn't want to register it. But you know,
right? He's not. He's flying into the LAX and waving at pilots. Yeah, not cool, dude. All right, let's move on. All right, so, unidentified flying object. This is an identified flying object, but still, what is it doing up in the air? And I know we're behind on World Wide Web of Weird, so some of you guys have already seen this short clip of what appears to be a broomstick floating in midair has left a lot of people scratching their heads. The perplexing footage, which was uploaded by a few days ago, of course now more than that, by a delivery driver who goes by the name of Theon.
Hey, so outlet.
Oh, hold on. Got the audio there. Hold on. I don't know how to say it. Theon Media Luca on TikTok shows what looks like a straw broom floating around 50 feet in the air above the road, resembling a typical witch's broomstick, like something you might expect to find in a Harry Potter movie. The particular object seems to be motionless and with no visible means of propulsion to support it. The driver even gets out of his vehicle, shows that it's not simply stuck onto the windshield. He also since emphasized that the footage has not been edited or doctored in any way. So what exactly is going on in this clip? Is there really a broomstick hovering in the air, or is it an optical illusion of some kind? Alternatively, could this whole thing be a clever hoax? That's my first thought. There's really no way to know for sure what the true matter is for the video alone. Broomsticks don't just hover in the sky. No, really? I thought they did. I've read Harry Potter. Okay. So either it's a trick or some kind of footage that has been doctored using computer software. Either way, it's certainly intriguing as the writing of the clip has been viewed over 8 million times. Probably more than that. Go ahead and roll that
Hey, so
broomstick footage. Yeah, a little loud.
It's weird. I got it muted.
Yeah, just mute it. He
Maybe
talks
an
about seeing
invisible
it.
witch.
I was like looking for power lines that it's like maybe on, you're not seeing, or a line or something up there, but I don't know. It could be a hoax, trickery. It just seems odd that, this guy's on his job. It'd be a better way to hoax it. I don't know. I think he comes back, if I remember right, from more of the TikTok. He made another TikTok video where they like came back 20 minutes later and it was like still there, and then. But what happened? Did it go away? I would have sat there and watched it. And
Yeah, it's not every day.
I mean, he was on the job.
Broomstick floating around,
Why were you late with that delivery? There was a broomstick in the air.
Yeah, there's a broomstick, dude. I'm sorry. I had to check
I was
that.
looking for the witch. Just
It
had to
was
give
me.
It back.
Yeah, that's pretty weird. Gotta say.
So yeah, flying humanoid and flying broomsticks. I don't know.
Could there be a little drone underneath it, maybe?
No, I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
It's either CG or it's on a wire or something up there you can't see, but they'd have to like connect it to trees maybe. I don't know.
High up.
When they do chunk, like throw the broomstick up.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but
Right? I'm not saying it's Harry Potter.
not
It's
saying
a visibility cloak,
exactly.
but I don't know. Visibility potion just forgot the broom's not going to be invisible. I don't know.
I'll try
But let's move on before we run out of time. Okay. All right. Let's see. Where are we at? That was number 4. We're number 5. All right. Number 5. Creature caught on camera during camping trip, and this I only have a screenshot of. The clip's really quick anyways, just about what you see in it. A woman who had been camping in England last summer managed to capture this eerie photograph. Oh, it's just a photograph, that's right. In the middle of the night. The unnerving image recently came to light thanks to YouTuber Mr. MBB333, who received an email from a man who obtained the photograph from a partner of a family friend. According to the email, the woman had been sleeping in her tent during a camping trip to the site of Edinburgh, Kent, back in the summer of 2020, when she was woken by a strange noise. It was around 3 a.m. and still dark outside, so when she looked outside, she was unable to see anything in the gloom. Grabbing her camera, she took a few pictures, using the flash to illuminate her surroundings. When she checked the photograph, one of them seemed to show an unidentified creature perched in a tree next to the campsite. What is difficult to make out exactly what the creature is, or even if the creature at all, or if it's a creature at all. The photograph is certainly creepy. You can check out the video, blah, blah, blah. They have a video on Unexplained Mysteries, but it really just shows this image. I mean, you can see refraction in the eyes. If you watch the video, you get a little definitely clearer picture of the photograph. There's definitely the eye glare, so that seems like some kind of creature. Now, could it be a little creature and a bunch of stuff in the tree making it look like a bigger creature? I don't know.
Rob not going back to sleep that night in the tent. That's what it could have been.
But it does look like a body and the knee. Like when I look at the clear picture, like you see like somebody perched up in the tree.
Yeah.
I would say a person may be perched up in the tree watching you. That's scary enough.
Yeah.
You were vulnerable. I mean, you're in a tent. I mean, watch any Friday the 13th Crystal Lake movie.
Exactly.
Bash against a tree in your own sleeping bag, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I would be creeped out. I don't know if I could go camping again after seeing that. And I've gone camping a long time, but that would definitely keep me from going back in a long time. All right, let's move on.
Weird things in the woods, man.
Yeah, weird things in the woods. What about in your house? Coast
Yeah,
to Coast
that's
AM, we got this one. What about lizard people, reptilian people,
Oh, hell no.
draconians? Mysterious reptilian footprints found in Venezuelan home. Curious case out of Venezuela. A mysterious set of clawed footprints were discovered in a home, and some have suggested that the odd markings may have come from a reptilian being, according to a local media report. The weird discovery was made last week in the city of Carcass. Carcass? Is that how you say it? I don't know. When a bewildered homeowner noticed that the weird prints on his otherwise pristine floor. The witness indicated that the dark markings, which can be seen here, were around 10 inches in length and appeared to have been muddy in the nature. The prints are particularly puzzling for a pair of reasons, beginning with the fact, as the witness explained, it had not rained, therefore it was impossible that someone had stepped on the swamp in the streets and left those marks. Compounding the mystery is that they were found on the second story of the home, and it would have been impossible for someone to have entered the residence by way of a window, as there are security bars in place from preventing such a thing. Excuse me. Understandably intrigued by the footprints found in his home, the witness subsequently explored the rest of the residence, hoping to find additional marks that might explain their origin. However, a search of the house turned up no additional prints, nor a muddy-like substance that could account for the bewildering discovery. I cannot talk. Well, with that in mind, the source of the footprints remains a mystery, with Venezuelan UFO researcher Hector Escalante, who investigated the case, suggesting that it could have come from reptilians among us, or he conceded they may merely been a practical joke. Yeah. I don't know. They are weird. I would not be happy to find that in my home, but that looks like a footprint and some paws or toes there. I mean, it's got a heel. Almost looks like, what, a bear? I don't know. I don't think they had bears like that there.
Those are like claws.
Yeah.
Like someone hasn't done their toenails in a while.
Yeah, you seen those ladies that grow out their toenails and they all go curled? That gives me the creeps.
Yeah.
That's imagine. You don't have a lizard person, you just have a lady needs to go to the salon. Not decorate those nails, get them cut. So gross. So gross. Sorry if I have any ladies that like to curl their nails, but I think that's the grossest thing in the world. All right, let's move on to the last one. Just to freak you guys out. Now, we were the first to, we got on the coronavirus thing pretty early on the World Wide Web of Weird. I remember bringing it up pretty early on before anybody was really talking about it in the media. I hope I'm wrong on this one. This from Unexplained Mysteries. Vials marked smallpox found in U.S. laboratory. And wasn't it, a couple months ago, the CDC were warned about a smallpox outbreak. The James Bond plot is about a smallpox virus being released, and what else we got? Oh yeah, smallpox vials found, which is caused by the variola virus, is simultaneously one of the worst diseases in the history of mankind and one of the modern medicine's greatest success stories, given that concerted vaccination effort ultimately succeeded in wiping out it completely. You know why it worked? Because that vaccine actually stopped it. You couldn't get it once you had the vaccine, unlike others. There are, however, still a limited number of vials containing samples of the disease being kept securely at laboratories for research purposes, a point of contention among many who would prefer to have seen every single trace of the smallpox destroyed. Right here, making it impossible for it to ever infect anyone again. Authorities have always maintained that there is no risk because the samples are being kept securely.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. We are I'm so thankful for that reassurance.
Yeah.
However, this assertion has been cast into doubt. Oh no! Following a recent discovery of several vials marked smallpox by a laboratory worker who had been cleaning out a freezer. The find, which was made in Pennsylvania. Good old America, Pennsylvania, founding country. They're right. Yeah.
Janitors like, what are these?
Is now being formally investigated. The CDC administration partners and law enforcement are investigating the matter, and the vial's contents appear to be intact. Okay, that's
3 days ago, CDC says the lab did not contain the disease. Coming from the CDC, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The laboratory workers who discovered the vials were wearing gloves and face masks. There's no indication that anyone has been exposed to a small number of frozen vials. Whether or not the vials actually do contain smallpox currently remains unclear, but if they do, there will need to be a serious investigation how this could have happened, and whether or not there are any other vials of deadly diseases out there just waiting to be found by unsuspecting lab workers. They don't have to wait to find. They're making them. They are still making them. They're still outsourcing that and making them. It hasn't stopped. There's all kinds of dangerous stuff going on. There's money in it too.
Polio and smallpox, and they're talking about children being possibly paralyzed coming up in the next, here, so also.
No, I mean, I'm not trying to leave you guys on a sour, a depressing, dark note, but it's the world I'm living in the last few weeks. My work's threatening to fire me over, certain mandates and stuff like that I don't agree with. The difference with the polio vaccine is it actually worked. Sorry. That's the difference.
And
that's
it was
what
a
stopped
vaccine.
Yeah, it was an actual one. They had to change their definition for that, by the way. But here's our government. Here they go. They're finding vials in there. People are, you have a right to be suspicious when you see like a major movie coming out. Now, James Bond, I will say this about the James Bond movie, because people are like, well, that's the whole plot line of James Bond. Is, I haven't seen it yet, but that's what I'm hearing is about this, this whole smallpox spread and all that. I'm like, well, it was supposed to come out last year, James Bond was. And because of that plot line, they pushed it way back. Because that was not maybe the best time for a box office. Nobody wanted to go, even ever, like James Bond's not going to save us. That was the mentality back a year ago when they tried to release it. I'm a huge James Bond fan. I can't wait to see it. Sad to see Daniel Craig go. But I know I've seen everybody posting, the smallpox scene. Well, that's funny. And there's been some funny things coming out of the CDC about smallpox before these vials were found too.
Yep.
Coincidence? I don't know. I better get my phone plugged in here. We might have to call our guest. I saw him try to join twice. We'll see if he joins here after this commercial break. But our guest tonight is Robert Righi. He's going to join us here when we come back from this very short commercial break. He's a psychic medium. He's also was a criminal profiler down in Florida and actually interviewed Ted Bundy. And he sent me some other information I think might have an interesting story about that. I don't think we really got to talk to him about that last time he was on, about 4 years ago. And it's also his birthday. Make sure if you call in tonight, you wish him a happy birthday. But he's a psychic medium. He's a guy with a really huge heart. He helps out in hospice with children who are dying. Like I said, that's a true spiritual warrior to me. Robert Righi, tonight, after this short commercial break.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. Mr. called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Certificate A, now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is psychic medium Robert Righi, and it is his birthday tonight, and it's an honor to have him on. I had to bring him on by phone. He was trying to get the StreamYard to work on his phone. It works sometimes it doesn't. So he's going to be joining us on the audio line tonight. That will limit us down to 2 phone lines, really 1. When we open up the lines later, just bear with us on that. But Robert is a psychic medium. He has a master's in forensic psychology and clinical social work from the University of Florida. He was a criminal profiler for 30 years in Florida. He interviewed Ted Bundy, and I think I didn't find that out until like the end of the show last time he was on. And I really want to get to talk to him about that. I hate taking it to the dark side of that because Robert is like a man of light. He also volunteers all over the country. In homeless shelters and at hospices with children who are dying. I mean, that to me, it's hard for me to even say. I can't even stand watching a kid die in a movie. It's hard, and he has such a huge heart to be there for the family and for the child. He's an incredible man, and it's really an honor to have him on, especially on his birthday. We got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get to our guest. Are you there with us, Robert?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a feeling it wasn't working for you. I saw you trying to pop on. I'm like, okay, it's phone. It is. We tried. Well, thank you, Robert. Happy birthday.
Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Jason.
How old are you now?
67 years young.
67 years young. There you go.
Yes, I still have a couple of rodeos left in me, so I'm not going anywhere for a long time.
Well, it's been 4 years since we had you on, and you said we were one of the first or second podcasts that you ever did. I don't think you still don't do many, do you?
Yes. In the past several months, maybe 3-4 months, I have probably done over 40.
Wow. So you went from a lot from not doing any.
Right. Yes, that is correct. But again, thank you, Jason. Your interviewing style is fantastic. You made me feel so very, very comfortable. And I have watched other podcasts that you interviewed folks, and you are wonderful. So thank you so much. And also thank you for sharing on Facebook your wonderful boys. Thank you so very, very much.
Yeah, right now we got the COVID positive one passed out. Luckily, the other one's up. They're on virtual school. Wonder why? Oh yeah, because of COVID, they had to shut down the school.
Oh my God.
So yeah, we got 10 days all together, one loving family. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. They helped me. Liam, who has COVID, was out in the yard raking with me and everything. I don't know if you saw those pictures.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I didn't announce on Facebook I had COVID because people were like, "What's he doing out there?" People freak out about it. You know what? That kid's perfect. That kid's fine.
I know.
And luckily, he's not contagious because I would think all of us would have it by now, but we don't.
Right. So, so praise God,
Praise God. Yes.
We are so very, very blessed. And for me personally, I have natural immunity, and, that I've traveled from the East Coast to the West, all over in the beginning of COVID and such like that. And I've been tested over 200 times, and it's always negative. And my doctor in New Mexico, where I was volunteering, said, "Why don't we do an antibody test?" I said, "Okay." But it cost $900. He said he would pick it up, and he did. And several days later, came back that I have natural immunity.
See, I'm with the public all the time in my job. That's threatened right now. But I meet the public all day long. Like I've been doing it for years, and I'm not saying I'm the most hygienic person in the world. I try to wash my hands constantly, but I'm pretty sure before I started eating better and taking vitamins every day in the last 2 years, before then I would get sick of everything. I got the swine flu, for God's sake, at one point.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I mean, like I've had it all. You know what I'm saying? Like So to me, it's like I could have antibodies for it and don't even know. My son might not have, but his antibodies are kicking its butt.
Right. Good. That's good. And so the doctor told me never to take the vaccination. And God bless people that do. That is their choice.
I have no problem. Just let me have a choice. That's all. That's all I ask.
Right. And so for me, he said, "Robert, if you ever got the vaccination, my immune system would crash. Immediately. I would be in intensive care in no time." And so he has written out a form stating that I have natural immunity. His telephone number's on there, the testing and such like that. And so and God bless people that want to take it. And I know sometimes when I tell folks this, they don't believe that anyone has natural immunity, but they call us the herd, right? We're not a flock of people, we're a herd. And there are millions of people within our herd that have natural.
I hate that term. Immunity. I hate that term too, because it's like, oh, we're a herd now, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I felt like I was a cattle to you guys, anyways. You rich elitist bastards. But anyways.
Yeah. But again, Jason, thank you so very much. And I know earlier StreamYard was working beautifully.
I know, that's how it works.
And when I talk about certain things, it happens a lot. It happens a lot. And so I've gotten used to this, unfortunately. And but anyhow, thank you again for having me on. And I appreciate you so very, very much, Jason.
It's been 4 years, so we had a lot of new audience members, and we're streaming on more things. So I'd like to get a little refresher, like, who you are, Robert. Where did your abilities start and come from? I mean, besides we know God.
Right.
But like, how did this journey begin for you?
Okay. I was born in 1954, and in 1958, at 3 o'clock in the morning. Back then, I was only 4 years old. I had no idea what 3 o'clock hour meant. I just had to go pee. So I got up and went to pee, and my parents heard me. They thought that I was sick. And so they asked me what was going on, and I said, I had to go to the bathroom, and I saw Abe Lincoln.
Oh, that's right. Me and you have both had the Abe Lincoln experience. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I saw Abe Lincoln, and he smiled and nodded at me. It was a full apparition. And now I'm using my hands because I'm Italian and nobody can see me.
Yeah, but it was physically, materially, like you couldn't see through him, right? You could see him physically. That was my experience at 11 years old when I woke up and he was sitting on the edge of my bed and he tipped his hat and smiled at me and I screamed. Ran out of my room. Yes.
Bless your soul. And so I felt very comfortable. And later on through the years, I think about that often. And that was an affirmation, validation of my abilities.
Why Abe Lincoln, though, for you and me? I mean, I have my experiences psychically, and I've had a lot of spiritual experiences at a young age. So why Abraham Lincoln? Because it fascinated me when you first said this when we had you on 4 years ago. I'm like, okay, that's weird.
Well, for me, coming from the state of Illinois, Abe Lincoln, was raised here. He was born in Kentucky, came here. Also, he lived in Indiana for a while.
I did, yep.
Yeah, okay. And so Abe Lincoln is just part of Illinois. And I think that's why.
I was always fascinated with him since I was a young child. I was like my favorite president, like fascination historically was Abe Lincoln.
Right. And his wife, she was very into the paranormal back then. She was.
Oh, yes.
In fact, that she was put in a state institution in Illinois because people thought she was crazy.
But Abe Lincoln didn't. He it's not like he just said, "Oh, my crazy wife." He participated.
He did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. But after he was killed, and she had this premonition.
She lost
apparently.
It after that. Yes.
Yes, she did. And so one of her sons, one of them, put her in the state institution. The other one got her out.
Yeah.
And but she experienced a lot of things in her life, bless her soul. But anyhow, so my first experience was Abraham Lincoln. My parents kind of laughed. And they said, hop into bed with us. And so I did. And I must also preface that I'm Roman Catholic and my spirituality is upon my Roman Catholicism. I don't try to convert anyone to anything. I don't, it doesn't matter to me. But for me personally, Jason, and the folks who are listening to this, that my Catholicism is very, very important to me. Also, that I also tell folks that I am gay. I think it's very important for me to let people know because I want people to be very, very comfortable with me.
See, and I can't wait for the day, Robert, where you just don't have to even say that. People just get over that.
Right.
I'm saying like, oh, I don't have to tell people I'm straight. You do. I understand why you do because it's still, in some people, I don't know why, a faux pas.
Right.
And I'm somebody who believes that there's knowledge and information. You should follow your life, but if you're a Christian by the Bible, but doesn't mean you should be judging other people. That's God's job, not yours.
Amen. And one of my mottos is Christian hypocrisy knows no bounds.
True.
And it's very true. But anyhow, so I'm very open. I'm very transparent of who I am and what I do. I want people to feel comfortable with me. There has to be a trust on both sides. Being a forensic psychologist and being a criminal profiler, plus having my private practice and such, I wanted people to feel comfortable with me. It's very, very important. And if they're not, God bless them, then I referred them to someone else. But I'm very upfront in who I am, what I do, my Italian and Spanish heritage and such like that. And that all ties into who I am. Being gay doesn't define who I am. My heart does.
Exactly.
Being Italian and Spanish and Catholic doesn't define who I am. It defines my heart. It tells people, who I am. So.
And you have a huge heart.
Oh, well, thank you.
The Italian, if I remember right, too, didn't you have a grandmother or somebody was a Strigoi, or what do we say, a witch? Italian
witch. Well, not my Nona. Okay, and so I woke, I went to the bathroom and all that, saw Abraham Lincoln, crawled in bed with my parents. The next day, my Spanish mother took me to my Italian Nona, and then we all went. I was only 4 years old, and so we went to I would consider a white witch now, okay?
Yeah.
And so we went, and she looked like she was 10,000 years old. Really, she did. She was just old to me, wrinkly, white hair and such. But when she put her hand on top of my head, I could feel her energy enter my little body. I began to quiver. I remember being, shaking.
Yeah.
And then she could feel my energy also. And she just grabbed my chubby little cheeks, and then she kissed me on both sides of the cheeks and said in Italian that I am gifted, special. And I had no idea. I know Italian now, but when I was little, I had no idea what she was talking about my Italian Nona did. So she told me, and that was the only time that I saw her. That was the only time.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That was the only time that I saw this woman. And again, that was in 1958. But my parents and my Italian and my Spanish relatives knew that I had special abilities, and I could talk with them. Remember, I was only 4 years old, so I was talking in not the terms that I would use now, right?
Right.
But anyhow, they were very open to that. But they always prefaced, like, you cannot say anything out of the family.
Right. It's only in the family it's kept.
Right. It is, and so that, oh goodness.
No, that's my computer.
Okay, it's fine. But anyhow, so I had to stuff it, and it bothered me greatly to the point where I began to stutter. And I went to a Catholic school, and my parents again told me never say anything to the nuns about it, but I did. And I remember the sister, she said, "Mr. Riggy, what are you looking out at the window?" And I said, "Sister, these little kids are waving at me." Ooh. Well, that was the wrong thing to say. Before I knew it, I was on the floor because she slapped me. And then I went home and I told my parents, and my parents said, "We warned you, never say anything." But I did not know how to turn it on and off. And that's why to this day, my brothers and sisters that are listening to this wonderful podcast with Jason, that the children of the paranormal are really my heart, because I know what the children of the paranormal go through. They're being pushed away. The parents don't understand them. They become lonely. Yes. And so that's why I mentor these 15 children of the paranormal. Some of them are from Indiana, Michigan, California, Utah. They're all over the country. But let's go back. Okay, so I go to so I'm in grade school and everything, and then high school. And I continue to see things and experience things. I'm a psychic medium, so do the dead talk to me? Yes. Do I see things psychically? Yes. Did I do wonderfully in school because of my abilities? No, I didn't.
No, it's a lot of distraction.
It very much so. And also that I'm dyslexic. And, that threw another wrench into it also. But anyhow, I had to teach myself how to turn on and off my abilities. And so I did. I was in grade school, and all at once, my angels, and we can talk about those, my two wonderful angels later, but Angelina, especially this little baby, whispered in my ear, and she said, "A book." And so psychically, I saw a book. It was opening and closing. I was like in fourth grade. So I had to really figure out why I was seeing a book. I finally got it later on, of where if I wanted to be open to the spirit world, I opened the book. When I wanted to be left alone, I closed the book. And so that's how I learned myself how to turn it on and off. And that's how I have taught the children of the paranormal to do that. So in high school, experienced a lot of things. And then I went to college and went to University of Florida. And I got into forensic psychology.
That's awesome.
in 1980, when I graduated, we knew of DNA, but we did not know how to test for it.
Right.
And so testing didn't come until like 82, 83, but at that, it was faulty at best.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't really good because a lot of people were unfortunately convicted wrongly through DNA. And thank God now there's lawyers out there that are helping our brothers and sisters who were in prison who are innocent. And so thank God for that. And so then in 1980, so then I went to my psychology professor, and I said, I would like to write to Ted Bundy and ask him if I could come there to interview him.
Wow.
And he said, go for it. If you want to write to, Mr. Bundy and write to his lawyer and to the state warden, which is only, his prison that he was in was only 50 miles north of Gainesville.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very close. And so anyhow, I did. And the following week, I received a letter from all three giving me permission, giving other psychologists and myself permission. And so that was granted. And we can go into that more detail.
Let's go ahead and go into that. I've been waiting.
Okay, do you want to?
Yeah, I do, because
Okay.
I don't think we really did last time so much.
Okay.
So, I mean, I can imagine, here I am, here you are, you're going to be meeting Ted Bundy, and what year was this?
This was in 1980, right before I graduated.
All right, so
Okay.
this isn't, when was he put in jail? It was 76.
He had been in there for a while.
Yeah.
And so it was just fascinating. Everybody knew of Ted Bundy, and that's because it was all over the papers. We have had other serial killers during the same time, but it wasn't publicized as much as Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy got publicized, and because before Ted Bundy, most of the people were like Ed Gein style serial killers. You know what I'm saying? They were like unkept. Definitely, oh yeah, that guy's weird, but this was the first, like, I never knew he seemed like such a nice guy. He
So
volunteered
charismatic.
Yeah, charismatic. He could have been a politician, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. He was like, the first one that really got exposed, and it makes you think, well, okay, how many others are out there that are like American Psycho,
Right. Oh, very much so. It's very true. During the time that he was on his heinous, horrible, murderous life, also the Green River serial killer was the same time. Okay, so the letter came in, and so I went to the dean and everything, and he said, that's wonderful. The only stipulation that Bundy asked was that we do not bring any writing material or bring any devices. We could not record anything. And I thought, that's, it doesn't matter to me just to be in the same room with that, with that murderer. It was just something that, I don't know, my spirit really urged me to do. And being a criminal profiler, I really got into the criminal mind because it's fascinating to me. Okay. And so anyhow, there were 4 other psychologists. There were 3 women and also another male psychologist. So 2 weeks later, it was arranged. We went, and we were sitting in a room waiting, anticipating him walking through the door. And being a psychic medium, I could just feel the energy changing. Now, the rest of the psychologists couldn't. They knew that I was a psychic medium. Most of the school did. The dean of psychology knew that I was, and such like that, because he took me to different places because he was fascinated by it. And so then we got these female psychologists. They were in different style of dress, right? One of them was very busty, I can say. And so she was wearing a very, very tight sweater. The other one was like in a work suit, very professional looking. And the other young psychologist was in gym clothes, just a sweatshirt and sweats and whatever. And then being in the 80s, the other male psychologist and myself, we were wearing what everybody was wearing in Florida, were like the clothes of Miami Vice. If you remember a show with Don Johnson 1,000 years ago. So a lot of pastels and khakis and boat shoes and crap like that. And
I can feel it in the air tonight, man.
Yeah. And so we were waiting for him, and we had already discussed on the way, the ladies were going to talk about his upbringing, about his life growing up and things like that. The other psychologist was going to talk to him about his education and other things. And for me personally, I wanted to delve into the more of the dark side of him. Okay. Yeah. I wanted to know what he dabbled in to get him into this, right? So he walks in and he smiles. But when he looks at me, his eyes are like walnuts, just dark. There's nothing charismatic about his eyes when he was looking at me. But the other psychologist did not see that.
Right.
Only I saw that. The air changed inside. It became very heavy. No one else experienced that, but I did. Okay. He sits down. There are 3 security guards with him. He is shackled. He said, we are only 5 feet apart from him. That's all. 5 feet.
Yeah.
And to be in the same room with a murderous, psychotic, also possessed person, go ahead.
I would say that gets down to what I theorize about it. I have no way of knowing, but sometimes I feel like most of these people that go this dark, as deep and disgusting and dangerous, no motion about killing anyone, as Ted Bundy, that they are demonically possessed.
Yes. And so let's start from the time that he was born, because everything is layered. He was almost like what we would say a perfect storm. Okay. He was born in Vermont, and his mother was in a homeless shelter for pregnant women in Vermont. And he was born on November 24th, 1946. And she decided to keep Ted. And she did. And so after she had him, and they were there about a month, and then she moved. Her name was Eleanor Louise Caldwell, but she went by Louise.
Right.
Okay. So they decided to move to Philadelphia, where his grandparents live. Louise's parents live there, right? So anyhow, they go there, and he does okay for a while. He goes to school, but boy, he just started to slip fast. He would openly pee everywhere. He would do some strange things. He was he just was bizarre at a very young age.
I remember one story where his mom said she woke up to him hovering over her with the kitchen knife.
Yes. Oh, very much so. Yes. Yes, very much so. So he was doing all these things. Now, there are rumors from his own family that his grandfather is really his father.
Really? That's going on me.
Yes. And so his grandparents adopt him. They adopt him because back then, when a child was born and the woman was not married, they stamped on the birth certificate bastard.
Right.
Okay. And so things just did not work out well in Philadelphia. And so they decided to move to the Pacific Northwest, of all places. So he goes there. They go there. They're there about 3 or 4 months in. Now, Ted's telling me these things, right? And all at once, his cousins, relatives from the East come out and visit. Well, you know how how kids and cousins will say this and that, whatever.
I remember this, yes.
Okay. And so his cousins were telling him that they thought that his grandfather was his father. They thought it could be another uncle.
That's right. I remember now.
Stuff like that. Also, the kids told him that his mother, Louise, is really his sister.
I remember this now. I forgot about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So all this betrayal and lies just piled up on top of him.
Right.
And when he went to Louise and asked her about all this, she came clean then.
So his grandfather was raping his.
That part of it we never knew, never. But I'm saying that his mother came clean and said, "Yes, I am your sister, but I'm also your mother."
That's that. See, and this is what I wonder genetically, just on a scientific principle, so you're talking about inbreeding.
Yes.
I mean, think what happens when dogs get inbred. They get
Right.
violent or vicious. And with a male, it's the extra Y chromosome they say that serial killers have.
Very much so.
And if he was inbred, it would, like you said, the perfect storm.
Yes.
The evil, a sin created out of sin, if you looked at a religious aspect, but just scientifically, what happens when that inbred incest happened.
Right. Well, and then what happens is that he comes from a very religious background, of very conservative Methodists, and he hated that because, the Protestants, I mean, God bless my Protestant brothers and sisters, but, they go to church on Sunday 4 hours, and then after that, maybe on Wednesday night and all these other things, right? Well, Ted was tired of that. He starts openly masturbating everywhere. And so he then on Sundays, before the choir could get their robes on, he would go back into where they had the robes and such, and he would masturbate on only the female robes.
Yeah, that's a
that's
a bad sign of something going to happen with that kid's going to go really wrong.
Right.
But again, like I said, it's like we created a vicious dog. Like if you're inbreeding dogs.
Very much so. And so then, because really when a boy does that, it is a sign of power and control.
Yes.
Okay. They took him to a psychologist, then a psychiatrist. They put him on medication. Nothing helped. Nothing helped whatsoever. He gets in trouble in school. He begins to steal things in stores and those types of things. But Louise always enabled him. She rescued him constantly. There was no discipline in the home whatsoever because she felt guilty of him being born without a father, and maybe it was her father, you know what I mean, and that type of thing, or an uncle. Okay, so she had this guilt, and that energy of guilt and that negativity, I mean, it just poured upon this kid, right? And so they put him on this medication, but he's very charming, very good looking guy, beautiful eyes, wavy black hair. He could sell refrigerators and freezers to Eskimos, as they used to say years ago. And so he began to learn that he could manipulate very, very well because of his good looks.
And he learned it from his mother. I'm sure a lot of what her coddling him is his own learned manipulation in that relationship between the two.
Right. And also a lot of the things that he did were survival skills. He learned because of all the other stuff that was going around him, piling up. All this junk, this garbage emotionally was just getting to him. So a lot of it was just survival skills that he learned. Okay. So then the other psychologists began to ask him questions about his schooling and such like that. And he did. I mean, he was tested and he was in the gifted range of 136. Yeah, he wasn't stupid by no means. And so one of the other psychologists asked him about why did he go to the university? And he said, I wanted to become a psychologist because I wanted to know how to manipulate women like yourself even more.
Power and control. It's never about sex. I mean, you think a lot of these guys like him, it's like, they're sexual perverts. No, they don't even care about the sex part. They care about controlling somebody and having that power. And I think his taking it out on women more than anything has a lot to do with his mother.
Oh, very much so, yes. But it's not saying that all people who are, who are born without a father or a man involved in one's life, most of them are not going to be serial killers.
No, I didn't have a father in my life until I was like 9, 10.
Right.
A stepfather,
Mm-hmm. And so, but I think what it is, it had to do a lot of with genetics. It had to do with nurture. It had to do with nurture and nature. It really, really did. This poor guy was doomed. But on the other hand, we have free will.
Yep.
Okay. He was not stupid. Okay. His narcissism really took over.
Yeah.
But during this time in high school, and I asked him, I said, did you delve into anything? And a lot of times he did not have good eye contact with me. Other times he would look away and he would stick his tongue and wag his tongue at the women and such like that. But when he did look at me, he began to sweat. And I remember him saying several times, I know who you are and I know what you're doing.
Ooh.
Now, none of the other psychologists understood what he was saying. They never questioned. I just kept on with the flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so anyhow, and he began to sweat. Now, I saw the sweat, but the other psychologists never saw it. That was bizarre in itself.
Yeah.
And when I began to talk with him, the energy in the room changed. And again, they did not notice that whatsoever. Okay. And so the other psychologists were asking more questions, and he was just, and the women, the reason why the women were dressed the way they were was because they wanted to entice him.
I knew that, yeah.
Yeah, to see what he would do. And I remember him looking at one of the psychologists who wore a very tight sweater, and he goes, do you know what I could do? And she said, what? And I remember this so clearly. And just talking about it now, I'm back in that room. I am back in that room with him at this very moment. Now, a lot of times, my brothers and sisters who are listening to this, people will hear female screams when I'm talking about
Really?
Bundy. Yes. And just in the past 3 podcasts, everybody wants to hear about Ted Bundy. Anyhow, a lot of times the phone will go dead.
No, let's not jinx it now. Come on now, Robert.
I know. But anyhow, just to let people know,
Yeah.
that's always a possibility. He's loving this because he's such a narcissist.
Yeah, that's I do hate that. Like, I've had a fascination about serial killers. It's bothered my wife and my mom for a long time. But but like you, it's a study of what true human evil is. How far the human soul can be just gone. Because to me, that person doesn't have a soul at that point to do something like that. They have no empathy and to do the monstrous things that he did. He was a walking human shark.
Right.
And he looked for opportunities and he took them without any remorse.
Very much so.
But that's the thing. That's why I'm fascinated by people like Ted Bundy. I just know that they love it, and I hate that.
Mm-hmm. And so, anyhow, he said to this female psychologist who was wearing this tight sweater, I wish I could get a knife because I would cut your sweater off of you, and I would cut your nipples off.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and he ain't playing. I'm sure this is exactly what he would do.
Right. Oh, well, even more.
Yeah.
He even cannibalized some of the women.
Yes.
And that has a lot to do with a lot of other things also.
That's what I always wondered.
And so she was beginning to squirm around, and so then I directed it back to me. Because she was feeling very uncomfortable. Well, anybody would. Could you imagine being in a room and this man has already murdered?
Yeah, psychic vampire. He's getting his emotional fix out of her, that energy fix by getting that reaction from her.
Right, and we talked about this, and we said to each other, okay, we're not going to be excited. We're not going to play his game, but in actuality, sometimes you just can't help it. If you're sitting in a room and a serial killer is in front of you, you already know what he's done to these other people, right? And when that person looks at you in the eyes and says that, the body is going to react. It's a normal reaction, okay? I know she was feeling uncomfortable, so I directed him back to me. And I asked him about certain things like in high school, what types of things was he into and everything. And he goes, well, I'm going to tell you something that I have never he said before. There was a documentary once that I saw a long, long time ago about him talking about the dark side, talking about, and that type of thing. Well, he was into the Ouija board. Now, my brothers and sisters who were in the Ouija board, God bless you. I don't mess with them. I think, life is a portal at best, right? But he got into that because he was such a narcissist that he believed if a demon ever came through, that he could control this demon. Well, it didn't happen. Demons did come through. Of course, he was drinking. They were getting high. But he got real bizarre with this. And it even scared his friends. So they stopped coming over. And so he became a loner. Okay? And a lot of serial killers are loners. Some of them aren't. Some of them are good family men. Very good.
BTK.
Yes. In fact, I write to him. I do. And so that's another story.
Wow. Okay, jeez.
Okay. And, but anyhow, and then he said that it got to the point where he didn't even have to use the planchette he just talked to the board. And sometimes it would move on its own. Well, we can take that as it is coming from him because he was he was a habitual liar.
Yeah.
But he did talk about the Ouija board. He talked about killing little animals. Well, most serial killers do start with that, right?
Right.
And anyhow, so then he would get these little animals and he would stun them, and then he would open the board, and then he would begin to dissect them when they were still alive.
Well, yeah, the Ouija board open.
Yes.
As like a sacrifice?
Well, as a sacrifice to the demons.
Yeah,
so he's calling these demons and everything. Well, before you know it, demons did come through and such like that. He thought it was fascinating. He thought he could control it. And then I asked him, I said, how did you learn how to skin so well? How did you learn to dismember bodies? Now, I'm not justifying what he did. I'm not glorifying what the son of a bitch did. I'm not at all. Because these women were innocent. They were innocent young girls. And so God bless them. And so he said, well, if you remember, there was a guy, and in fact, his mentor was Ed Gein. You know who Ed Gein is?
Oh, yeah, I mentioned him earlier.
Yes, you did, yes. And so anyhow, that's how he learned.
Just studying Ed Gein.
Yeah, studying him, reading about him, yes, about how he would skin people and make lampshades out of them and God knows whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I used Ed Gein as an example as the opposite end of the serial killer spectrum of somebody who had a low IQ.
Very much so.
He wasn't a very intelligent person. I mean, it's part of why he got caught. Ed Gein actually didn't kill that many people. He was more robbing graveyards.
Mm-hmm. And so then, anyhow, and so I think he wanted my reaction to that, and I just looked at him like, oh, okay, whatever. And so anyhow, he got into more of that, and he did say that he then stopped using the board. He just threw it away, and that was it.
Yeah, he's fully possessed. No need for this anymore. I can hear you right now, demon.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to conjure anything, because I think the demon was always inside of him. I always, I do. And so anyhow, the other psychologists asked him questions and such, and then I wanted to go back to the Ouija board and those types of things. And again, he looked at me, and sometimes he would wink at the women, and me, he didn't want to talk with me at all. He didn't. He talked very briefly, not very much, to the other psychologists. The other psychologists wanted to know about educational stuff and those types of things, and the women that he dated. And of course, again, coming out of his mouth, I mean, because he was such a habitual liar,
Yeah.
And so we just took some of it with a grain of salt. But all this ties in together. It does. Okay, so he gets into the Ouija board. He was drunk. He was high, doing all sorts of things, killing these animals, skinning animals, and everything. He goes to school. He becomes, he learns how to manipulate even better. And then he goes into his rampage. And he told us that he was really scared the first time that he killed a woman. He was scared, but his narcissistic tendencies said to him, you can do it once, you can do it many, many, many times. And the first time he said it was the hardest, but he said, when she died and when I skinned her and when I cut her nipples off and doing other things to these women, it became easier and easier and easier. But as we know, that narcissism in the end will kick you in the ass because because you think you're so high and mighty, you begin to be sloppy. Like the
Yep.
Yeah, very much so.
And you think you're
And-
smarter than everybody.
Yep.
Right. I know that he, and so we were talking about the women that he had murdered, and I have a connection with one of those women. I was a young kid, and this young girl lived down the road from me, and she was in high school. And back then people hitchhiked. It was like, the year of love and the hippies in the 70s and all this stuff, right? And a lot of people just hitchhiked. Kids just did,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What were those kids doing in that movie? They were
I know.
hitchhiking.
Yes. So it was just perfect. And so so there was a connection of how I only knew her just vaguely because I was a little kid and she was already graduating from high school.
Yeah.
But my parents were very good friends with her parents. But anyhow, so the first person that he murdered, he would just go down these roads and he knew the Pacific Northwest very, very well. And so he would like sometimes pull the car over and put the hood up.
Yeah.
And these women would.
He'd do the cast thing, like, help me, I can't do this.
It's very true. He was wearing a cast. That's very true. And at one point, he would wear a cast, and he would have a knife inside. And here he is. His car is supposedly overheated and everything like that. And these women would stop. This woman would stop and help him. And before she knew it, she was dead.
Yeah.
But a very slow and methodical death.
He had a shed at one point when he was on one trip, and where he got really bold, and he took like at least I think 3 in a very short period of time.
Yes.
He had 2 of them at least alive at one point up in that shed where he tortured them.
Right, he did. He loved that. How he got an erection was by slowly dissecting, ripping the women's skin off. That's what got him excited.
Yeah, and that's you don't get any more depths of evil than that.
Right, and then he was fascinated with the woman's body, with her anatomy, right? And so he'd like to go into different. I don't know how much that you want me to get into.
Let's not get too graphic.
Okay. Let me just say that the private parts of a woman also felt the knife.
Yes.
Okay, and then just leave it at that. Okay, and like I said, he did cannibalize certain parts of a woman's body.
Yes.
He also decapitated 12 women, and so I asked him about that, and I said, "What did you do with their heads?" He goes, "You're so damn stupid, and besides that, you're queer." He said that to me.
Yeah.
And so I just ignored that. And he said, heads are like a trophy.
Yes.
I would put the body in the back of my trunk, and the head would sit up in my car.
Yep.
It would sit in the front seat. And he said if he had to stop for gas or ran through, like, get some fast food, whatever, he always put a towel or something.
I think he was pulled over once, and he had the head in the front seat, and they didn't get it.
Right.
He got away.
I know. There were so many times that he could have been caught.
Yeah.
But never was during that time. And so then so narcissism says, okay, you can do it. The first time is going to be the hardest, but it will get easier after that. And it did for him. He knew how to manipulate. He knew how to act on sympathies of others. okay? And he did it well. And again, I'm not justifying what he did, but these women have a story to be told. These are innocent, innocent young women that were brutalized, cannibalized, decapitated, and all sorts of things. He would take some of these bodies thousands of miles, just like that he did to this young lady, this young girl that lived down the road from me here in Illinois, in Peoria, that that he murdered her. Excuse me, he murdered her and decapitated her and drove her body clear to Texas.
Oh,
you know, and she was buried by a pecan tree or underneath a pecan tree in South Texas. But anyhow, we can go into that later. But one thing that he also did was he was getting pissed off at the Green River serial killer. He was getting pissed off big time because, as he told all of us, that the guy was taking the best stock from him, and so he's the one who got the Green River serial killer caught. Basically, he wrote to the police and said, "This is how you're going to get him, and this is his MO and whatever." And really, he was talking about himself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's how he got caught and such like that. But just being in the same room, experiencing that, and again, just talking about it, I'm there. We were with him for 90 minutes. It went very, very, very fast. And again, we could ask him anything. And I said, well, these women they sure looked like your mother.
Yep.
And he said, yeah, all of them, except for one. One of females, she was only 12 years old.
Yeah.
12 years old, and he murdered her in North Florida. And also there was two sorority sisters that went to Florida State.
That's when he was on the run. He had escaped.
Yeah. Yes.
And he had gone across the country, ended up in Florida, and in the middle of the night had killed two sorority girls.
Right.
And one lived, right?
Yes. And I asked him about the sorority sisters, and he said they were bitches. They thought that they were everything. They thought that, because they come from very wealthy families and such like that. So he said that they deserved what they got.
And he did it very sloppy, aggressive. I mean, he knew he was going to get caught soon. He knew they were onto him. So I think he was having one last hurrah before they did. The creepy thing is, I've always heard about that. I don't know if the building's still there, but for many years they said on the house where it happened that you would see Ted Bundy sitting on the porch.
That's probably very true. It is. And right now, Ted Bundy's getting off on us, really talking about him. Really, he is. I mean, I sense and feel him. When I talk about him, like I said, he really gets off on it.
That gives me goosebumps.
But the minute we talk about the women, these innocent women, that's when he starts getting cranky. That's when a lot of times happens to computers and whatever, And again, I'm not here glorifying what he did, because what he did was heinous. It was unbelievable.
Like I said, it's pure. What humans can be the pure evil, and are they demonically possessed? Is the question I have. I mean, with active shooters, with people like this that go this off the deep end. I mean, look at people like Albert Fish. I mean, that guy was not stupid. He figured out ways to get little children. I always love the Jeff Lindsay Dexter book series, not the TV show. I do like the TV show, but they're actually really two different things. Jeff Lindsay's Dexter novels really touch upon the whole demon aspect. Not many people know that if they haven't read it. They have just seen the TV show, and you hear Dexter talk about his dark passenger. Well, in the books, the dark passenger is a demon.
Right.
And Jeff Lindsay kind of explores that aspect, of this demon. That was, that's part of who Dexter is. That's his dark passenger. For somebody, I'm not saying these people. I'm not taking away responsibility from these people. They made choices. But there's something demonic there. There's something dark and evil, parasitic attached to these people. I believe. if you've ever, I saw somebody comment in the chat room. I missed the name. Sorry. That were saying they met somebody who they saw. They had the black eyes. I've had that experience. There's like nothing there. Yeah.
Right. Oh,
it's a
nothing.
warning.
Yes. Oh, very much so. And again, the other psychologists never saw that. I saw it. I saw that. They never noticed that at all. And I kept like rubbing my eyes, seeing maybe they would get the point or whatever, but they didn't. And, but anyhow, we talked about that, when we were all going back to school. But just to hear him talk about it and just matter of fact, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's just like how we're talking right now. It just came out and it flowed. But again, he wanted to be bigger than life.
Well, what I think these guys enjoy, like Ed Kemper and Ted Bundy, very intelligent men, narcissists, when they get caught and they're finally in jail, they're like, wow, I can now be myself. Everybody knows, and everybody wants to talk to me. And I think they actually enjoyed their time in prison with that. Well,
part of that, then he wanted us to feel sorry for him, right?
That's true, yes.
And then he said, well, yes, did I kill these women? Yes. Did I kill more women than what they have found? Yes. He told us he killed over 150 women.
I believe that's possible. He's a liar. He's a liar, so he might not have, but...
Right. I think that he did. I really did, And back then there weren't, like missing people alerts and stuff like that. And you had to wait 24 to 48 hours. But if a person who was 18 and above, if they were missing, they were missing, because they had the right to be missed, and such like that. So, but culturally, things are changing in America too, of where like there was the Vietnam War, people were thinking about that. It was the civil rights movement and all sorts of things, right? Everything was just changing. And so it was perfect for him to grab onto that moment in our culture, in our society and such. And there wasn't like that you could get on the cell phone and that type of thing, or alert people from the East Coast to the West Coast and that type of thing. You know what I mean? It just wasn't done.
That's why he was one of the last serial killers like to be comfortable where they're at killing. They do it in their home territory or close to their home territory, somewhere they're familiar, comfortable. Ted Bundy, no. He would go out to places he wasn't familiar with and kill people and take them back to maybe somewhere he was familiar with, travel across state lines. He would go all over the place knowing that police departments aren't communicating with each other.
Right. And, everything worked in his favor, unfortunately, and it did. And, but just being in the same room with him, and I know a lot of people really want me to talk about the gore and what he did, and he went into detail.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. We got to go to commercial. We got to go to commercial break, Robert. When we come back, we'll open the phone lines for people's questions. But I want to continue on about that and what you do understand about the demonic realm. You were a part of 2 exorcisms. I would like to cover a little bit about that, if you're all right.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
All right, guys, we're going to go to a commercial break here, but we will be back, and we will open up the phone lines to your questions tonight. Now, Robert, you're a psychic medium. A lot of people come in and like, oh, can you give me a reading? You're not doing readings tonight, right?
No, I'm not.
Right. So people know he's not doing a reading, but if you want to call in for advice or you've had your own experiences in the paranormal, demonic realm, this would be the guy to talk to. Robert Righi, psychic medium. It's also his birthday, so make sure you wish him a happy birthday when you call in. All right, we'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Can Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope.
That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Edgar Allan Poe wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
Vince, you said before you were waiting for a sign. What sign are you waiting for?
Gozer the Traveler. He will come in one of the pre-chosen forms. During the rectification of the Valdrani, the Traveler came as a large and moving torb. Then, during the third reconciliation of the last of the McKettrick supplicants, they chose a new form for him, that of a giant slore. Many Shubs and Zools knew what it was to be roasted in the depths of the slore that day, I can tell you.
Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is psychic medium Robert Righi. We've been talking about, he's was a criminal profiler for 30 years in Florida, and he got to interview Ted Bundy for 90 minutes with a number of other psychologists, and really got to sit in the same room as pure evil. I'm not over-dramatizing. I saw somebody say, I don't remember hearing about Bundy mutilating bodies. Oh, go do the research. He did. I am very familiar with the Bundy case. And yeah, he did all kinds of things. He even held onto a decapitated head for quite a while of one victim. I think somebody found it after he had been put in jail. He had it hidden. That's where they kind of based that scene off of Silence of the Lambs. It was Ted Bundy. He influenced a lot when it comes to what we know about serial killers. And not a lot of serial killers aren't super intelligent. But they usually get caught. The ones like him are the sharks. They're the ones out there, I think, still. Plenty of them out there floating around, and people go missing, and nobody knows why. Because these guys are out there. They have a mask they put on. They wear it very well, and you wouldn't know behind that mask lies a complete evil monster. And Robert Righi sat in the room with them and got even some information out about his paranormal experiences with the Ouija board, which I find fascinating, because I've always wondered, these people that are this pure evil have to have something more to it than just the right perfect storm or a genetic line that makes them serial killers. Something more to it, something that's evil, because I've met evil and you see it in their eyes. And I've seen people comment tonight, they've seen people, they have that they've seen it in their eyes, the blackness, nothing there. That's what Ted Bundy was. I don't want to dwell on that all night. We got a lot of other stuff. Our guest, Robert Righi, has also been involved in 2 exorcisms. He does a lot of hospice care for children who are terminally ill. He's an amazing individual. And our phone lines are going to be open here. Let me make sure they're open for you guys to call in, join the conversation. Tell us your stories, your experiences, or ask your advice of Robert Righi. The guy's got a big heart. Not doing readings tonight, but he might be able to help you if you're going through something, especially paranormal. Call in. All right, but let's get back to our guest. You still there with us, Robert?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
So, you felt the darkness of Ted Bundy, that there's something more to it than just a sociopath or psychopath or whatever you want to call him.
Right. He was demon possessed. And let me tell you that it was 90 minutes, but it went very quickly. But what I experienced, it has never left me. It never has. I cover myself with white light when I talk about him. And because I need to still be protected. Ted Bundy's a bottom feeder. He still roams this earth. He does. He still roams this earth. In fact, where he was on death row, people, just not the inmates, but the guards will also say that they have seen him and such like that. Now, let's go back a bit, because he wanted sympathy from us, because he said, well, bad things happened to me in this effing prison also, and I just played it off, And he said, well, I was raped 4 times.
In prison?
Yes. Mm-hmm. He said that. He was raped 4 times. And I said, well, you were on death row. You were in isolation. How could you explain that to me, or explain that to us? And he said, I don't have to do that. You just have to believe me. I just told you how I dismembered these women and what I did to them sexually and other things, right? And so you must believe me. Well, what had happened was that he complained about being raped. They took him to the infirmary, and there was thank you. There was nothing wrong with him in any orifice. Okay, nothing. And so if he was talking about being brutally raped and such like that, but they found no tearing or anything like that in the rectal area. Okay. But anyhow, so he just wanted our sympathy. And I remember that when it was over, and like I said, we had 90 minutes. And when he got up and we thanked him, we thanked him for his time. And then he just kind of laughed at us. And he not waved, but he threw kisses or tried to the women and such like that. He winked at them. We winked at them. He turned around, was walking to the door, and then he turns around and looks at me. And he says to me with those darkened eyes, and again, the psychologist never saw his eyes the way I did. And he looked around and said to me, "You will never forget who I am, and I will come to your dreams. You will never ever get rid of me." And let me tell you, my brothers and sisters, that is very true. It is. I cover myself with white light. I protect myself. And yet at times during the night that I will dream about him, like right now, I'm back in the room with him.
Right.
I am. I'm sitting right there. I can see what I'm wearing, and I know the correction folks and everything there and such. And so I relive that. But I think the story needs to be told. I'm not justifying what he did at all, but I think that the dark side of him, even the darker side of him within the paranormal with the Ouija board and those types of things and being demon possessed. And I believe that he was truly, do I believe he was psychiatrically ill? Yes, I do. And yet I also believe that he was possessed.
Well, he was open, open, come on in.
Right. Oh, yeah, very much so. And so then, like, he was walking out and he turned around and I saw those dark eyes. And even in prison, he was very, he kept himself up. You know what I mean? And he looked he looked wonderful physically and such like that. He was very good looking. And even after they shaved, and even after he shaved, they shaved his head so they could electrocute him, right, through old Sparky and everything. And he was still very engaging, And I know that I sent you some pictures and such. But anyhow, he turned around and looked at me and said that, that you will never forget. You will never forget me. And I am closer to you than you will ever know. And that was it.
There's a documentary or whatever was done, and there was a movie. A kid. What was his name? He's a kid. He was a teenager and then young man who interviewed John Wayne Gacy. And he, of course, threw himself out to John Wayne Gacy and got to even go meet him in the jail cell as a teenager, because John Wayne had a way with the guards.
Right.
And,
very much so.
And then this kid, did this whole story, and John Wayne Gacy, basically, the last words they had was like, I'm going to haunt you, because he, figured out this kid had been playing him the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, very much so.
And that kid made the documentary, and then he committed suicide.
Oh, I can imagine. For a long time, Jason, I really didn't talk about this. You were one of the first podcasts. Well, in fact, the other podcast that I did prior to yours, I never mentioned Ted Bundy at all. And I think that I truly believe, even to this day, that the story about these innocent women need to be told. Now, some of these women have come to me, and I asked them, could have you helped any of the other women that were being brutalized, murdered, dissected, dismembered by Bundy? And several of them had said to me, no, we could not help those women. To help our sisters, they called them sisters. But what they did was that they were there to take their spirits to heaven.
So I've always hoped that, we have people on to talk about near-death experiences. They talk about being taken out of their body right before the accident. It's part of me hopes that part of them was taken out before he did the horrible things to them.
Right. But again, he loved to see, he got off on the terror in the women's eyes and their faces. He would cut their tongues out. He would, I mean,
Let's not get too graphic.
okay, I won't. I won't. Okay.
People want to know, they can go look it up. But he did do these things. I've read it too, and
Right.
I said something. I didn't know he did those things. Oh yeah, it wasn't just that he killed women. He did all kinds of things.
Oh yeah, very much so. And you know what? Also, is that that he had a daughter,
Yeah.
and so we talked about Rose Bundy, and he loved his daughter. He loved his daughter, but at one point, they were playing underneath, or he was wrestling with her, whatever, and he began to get an erection. And his girlfriend pulled the blankets up, and there he was with a full erection and such like that. That ended their relationship immediately.
Yeah.
You know, and so Rose Bundy is doing beautifully, but she has never said anything about her father. She's never written a book. She has never been on
Sure,
TV.
she's something she wants to put behind her.
Oh, very much so. I mean, she could make millions of dollars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She could. You know, but she has, you know, that she just lived a very quiet life, and the name Bundy is everywhere anyhow, right? So a lot of people don't even connect Rose with her murderous father and such like that. And Rose is doing, as far as I know, Rose is doing beautifully this very moment and everything. And so God bless her, because she has gone through hell.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure, you know, and everything. And so when it comes to, so then we see him in 1980. In 1989, they decide, you know, enough is enough. He has gone through all these appeals and crap like that, right? So in 1989, they decide to end his life. And so I had called his lawyer and to the state warden, because I got to know them well. And I said, I would like to be one of the 42 that were there the day that he gets executed. And so I was given permission. So I was, yes, I was one of the 42. Also, what I wanted is I wanted the chair that he sat in during the interview. I wanted that chair. In fact, when he left, I wasn't supposed to have a marker on me or any pencils or anything, pens, right? Anyhow, I had hid one in my socks. And so what I did is I put a mark on the back of the chair.
So you could get it.
Okay. Yes, I wanted that chair.
Why?
And when I asked why, I don't know. I mean, at the time, I thought it would be exciting. You know,
Or like a connection.
it would be right. That, and also that his energy would be on this chair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the energy. Yeah.
You know, and so I wanted that chair. And so when I asked for it later, they couldn't find it. And that's fine. Apparently, God didn't want me to have it. You know what I mean?
They needed that.
Right. But I thought it would be fascinating, because I was going to donate it to the school, just to have in their kind of like museum that they have and such like that. But anyhow, that chair was never found.
Well,
Okay,
it's like
so
Zach Bagans wanted Ted Bundy's glasses. I think he got in his museum or something.
oh, I know. And also, but anyhow, so I was one of the 42. So on January 24th at 7 a.m., we had to be there at 6. There were hundreds of people outside, you know, clapping their hands that he was going to be executed. But on the other hand, there were a lot of other people rooting for him. Really?
Yeah.
There were
like,
a lot.
I've been torn about the death penalty. I believe, you know, God says thou shalt not murder.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of, to me, we shouldn't put that on anybody to pull that switch.
Right.
You know?
And for me, I don't believe in capital punishment. Right. I don't. And so I just don't. And I think I think that they should have just allowed him to live a most miserable life.
Exactly.
You know, to me, that's more torturous than flipping a switch and 2 minutes later, dead.
The most torturous thing would be to do is not to have any movies or documentaries about him, lock him away, and everybody forget about him. That would torture that narcissistic a-holes to his very end.
you know, and so they allowed me to be there. So we all had to be there at 6 o'clock. Now, during this time also, I had continued to write to Bundy. So I have his letters. I have letters from Jeffrey Dahmer. I have letters from the BKT person. Yeah, BTK in Kansas. I mean, in Wichita, Kansas. Also, Son of Sam and everything. And so I have letters from him. But the Son of Sam now has found religion, has found God.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and also Scott Peterson that murdered Lacey, his wife, and an unborn child.
Monster.
And but anyhow, Scott Peterson's another story in itself, because his family to this day, and they write to me now and then, and they still believe that it wasn't Scott.
I know. I don't see how the evidence
doesn't.
Yeah, the evidence clearly points to him.
Oh, very much so. He had motive. He was there. Everything, yes, and everything. Now Scott writes to me like once a month, and he continues to say that he wishes that they would find Lacey's murderer, and he still loves her and everything. And but he's just ridiculous. He is. So people ask me, why do you write to these people? Because I want to see if they will ever come to the point to say, yes, I did it. You know what I mean? Never will Scott Peterson ever do that. Never. But anyhow, I go ahead.
He's another real narcissistic one.
Oh my God, yes. And how he was raised by his family. He was a golden boy. He could not do wrong at all.
You learn how to manipulate them at a young age.
Oh, very much so. And and this was before he was jailed. He went to gay bars in California.
Really?
And yes. And he even said in some of these letters that he had gone to these gay bars, and because he knows that he's very good looking and everything like that. But the guys stayed away from him. They shunned him.
Yeah, sixth sense. They're like, yeah, that guy's they got good sense for creeps.
Yeah, really, And anyhow, but also in California, there was during the 70s, like the gay movement, everything like that, and the bars were open, and people having a good time. And nobody talks about this, but there was a serial killer in San Francisco called the Doodler.
Yeah.
And what he would do is that he would doodle, he would draw, he would sketch gay folks. Guys, he would go into a bar, and he was a black man. Okay, he was in his 30s, and he would draw one of the guys he thought it was good looking, whatever, or maybe the guy was sitting by himself and such like that. So he would go over and say, "Oh, I just drew a picture," and that's how we got to his people, his guys that he killed.
Yeah.
And but to this day they have never found him. Never.
Yeah.
Not at all. And but anyhow, so I was there the day we got there at 6 o'clock and everything. And we all sat in this room, and just the anticipation of it, people outside and such like that. There were Pentecostal Protestants out there saying the death penalty is wrong and everything like that and everything. And so just walking through that crowd, both clapping and everything. And it just really set the mood. It was unbelievable how many people were there. Anyhow, so we went in there, and we all sat, and there was 42 of us, and there was it was a two-way mirror. We could see him, but they could not see us. But he knew how many people were there because they told him and such like that. And he knew that I was there because I had written to him several weeks prior to that and told him that I was given permission to be there. So he knew that I was there and such like that. Anyhow, so he comes in, his head is shaved and everything like that. And he looks at us, and I remember he smiled, and then they put the hood on him. Well, they strapped him down and everything. They put a hood on him. Well, they put, his head was shaved, so they had to put water and all this stuff and everything, and on his head, and they used a big sponge and everything. And I remember the warden saying, "Do you have any last words?" And his last words were, "Please tell my family that I love them and I love everyone." Never did he say, "I'm sorry for what I did."
Yeah.
Nothing. And then minutes later, old Sparky was turned on, and he was dead. And then after that, I mean, it's horrifying to see that because you see all the smoke, even through a hood, right?
Yeah.
You see all the smoke coming from someone's body. And of course, there were gasps in the room that I was in and such like that. Some people clapped. I was just very quiet. I just wanted to absorb everything. But what was important to me also was to see how other people reacted in the room. That was fascinating to me. And so anyhow, so he was taken from there, put on a gurney, taken to the infirmary where his brain was removed.
Right.
You know, and so they wanted to do, you know, testing on that. And really, when it comes to serial killers and such like that in the criminal mind, their lobes are a bit different. They really are.
Yeah, they have they have a name for it, but it's something with their frontal lobe activity.
That's why I always think that all serial killers should have their brains analyzed after to see that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And they all have, you know what? They all have that in common. You know, their frontal lobes are going to be different. There's going to be something different.
Yeah.
And so, anyhow, and so that was my experience with Ted Bundy. Of course, when we walked out, the people were still there. The reporters wanted to talk to us. We were told not to talk to anyone. In fact, we had to sign a paper stating not to talk to anyone. I know some of them did, but didn't go into a lot of detail and such like that. But just looking at him at this very moment, like I'm in that room, like I was years before that, right? Talking with him and just looking at him, knowing that he knows that I'm there, shaved head and such like that. And he smiled. I remember him smiling. I remember him wagging his tongue. And that was it. You know, and so to this day, and like talking about it now, again, I'm not glorifying what he did, but the women's stories need to be told. These were innocent women that stopped to help him. They had all good intentions and such like that, you know, and what he did to these women, it was uncalled for. It really, really was. But he tried to satisfy that part of him that wanted to get back at his mother and never could.
Yeah.
Never could at all. But anyhow, that is my experience with Ted Bundy. And like I said, and you understand it, Jason and Jamie, that I could go into more detail and other programs I've had and such like that. But again, people want to hear about the gore.
And I don't.
You know, and stuff like that. And so, but anyhow,
the gore part's not what fascinates me. It's the part that's a hard part for me to get into. It's the psychology part, you know, the part of what makes their human soul part. How somebody can be that monstrous and do those things. Like you said, you know, we got somebody on hold on the phone line we're gonna get to here in a second, so I don't want to get too deep into this yet. But like you said you wrote to Jeffrey Dahmer, somebody I was fascinated with. Actually, I felt a little bit of sympathy for. You know, I had no sympathy for Ted Bundy, but Jeffrey Dahmer's case, you know,
totally different.
Totally different. And you know, somebody who's, you know, he struggled with homosexuality, acceptance, but there's something definitely more to it than that, you know.
Oh, very much so. And the letters I received from all these people, right? Someone at one podcast, I had mentioned that I have all these letters, right? Oh my God, people came out of the woodwork. Can I buy these from you? Can I, you know, I mean, they were, you know, they wanted the whole lot of them that I have, right?
Yeah.
And just like that. And they said they'd give me this type of money and whatever. And I said, no, they're mine. And right before I die, if I am able to, I will burn them. I will burn them.
Jeffrey Dahmer, though, did seem like somebody, I'm not saying he felt remorse. I'm not saying that. But he did seem to acknowledge
he did.
His
very
problem
much so.
And what he did, and wish there was a part of him that wish he could be different.
Right. And he is one of the few, and also like the son of, and just like the son of Sam. You know, he has changed his life completely. Now, that could be a show, too. You know what I mean? You never know. It could be really, truly manipulation on his
Son of
part.
Sam, I believe, is total manipulation. That guy's been full of crap since he got caught. You know, he's spewed nothing but BS about all kinds of things.
Right.
You know,
and
the
so,
talking dog, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So I have all these letters, and I keep them under lock and key. And even when I go away, but like now I'm home in Peoria, Illinois, and but anyhow, they're put away, they're locked up, and even my own family doesn't know where they're located. They know they're here in the house, but they don't know where. So
I have another medium friend, Jackie Barrett, who's you remind me of because she's same fascination and also a medium and has corresponded with some of the worst. Charles Manson. Robbie DeVoe from Amityville case, shot and killed his family. I mean, she's corresponded with a lot of these people because it's like people are like, why do you do that? It's because I think people like you and me, we have so much empathy. We are like the direct opposite of what these people are.
Right.
That we are completely fascinated by that aspect. We do have a phone call line. We got Zach on the line. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. How you doing?
Been better, but doing good. Glad to be back after 2 weeks.
Hi, Zach.
I'm glad to be back too. Hey, Robert, long time no see, my friend. How are you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. So what's going on in your world tonight?
Oh, well, it's gotten a little chilly out here in Arizona, but you know what? I'm doing pretty good. I did have a question, but you guys actually answered it for me while I was waiting on hold. But I do want to share two different experiences that I have, and I don't know if it's really an ability, but for some reason, I can be in the presence of somebody who has done something very horrible, and for some reason, I'll just talk about it. It'll come in the form of a joke that I make, just a random joke that I'll make. And I wanted to share two different experiences. So both of these happened through the line of work I'm in. I work in the delivery business. And I remember talking with my manager that I had at the time about a dispatcher that was with another company that we had worked with. And this guy, I'd be very professional with him, but for some reason, like, there was always something about him that just, like, made my skin crawl. And I couldn't really explain why.
I know that feeling.
And I remember, and she said one time, oh, he's got a voice for radio. And I made a random comment. I'm like, well, yeah, but I wouldn't trust him to be within 500 feet of a Chuck E. Cheese.
Ooh.
One of my other managers later told me this guy was on the sex offender registry for sexually abusing a 6-year-old girl. I was like, oh, crap. But that was not the last time that it happened. So I used to work with this other guy that worked for us for a time. He was a driver for us, and then he moved up into dispatch up with me. And the guy was just always very off, but for the most part, he was harmless. I mean, every time that I would talk to him, he'd just give you a 1,000-yard stare, like he was looking right past you. Anyway, this guy, one time, he started to share with us that he was undergoing a bisexual phase, and he kept saying to us, I can never get a boyfriend. I don't know how I'm going to get one, but I want one so bad. And I just made this random joke. I said, well, you can always go to prison and you could be Big Black Bubba's little girlfriend. I didn't say girlfriend. I said another word, in lieu of that. And he said, oh, well, at least I would have someone to cuddle with. 2 years after he left us, my manager texted me a link to a news article. I opened up the article. Come to find out, he had gotten arrested for abusing 2 teenage girls. I remember back to that joke, and my stomach just dropped. I was like, oh, crap. I can't believe that. Like, for some reason, it just came out as a joke, just at random. But for some reason, just when I'm in the presence of somebody that has done something horrible, just those jokes will come out, and come to find out there's some truth to.
So Zach has the psychic tasteless joke ability.
And so
I guess so, man.
And so that happens a lot. you know, and you probably, what I'm sensing and feeling that you are an empath, possibly. You're intuitive, okay? And so you pick up on things where other people don't. What I'm sensing and feeling also is that you love to observe people from afar, from a distance. I think that you can read people very, very well, okay? And so when that happens, that's even fascinates us even more. And a lot of times that we will make jokes of things because we need to put levity into things also, right?
Yeah.
And so that happens a lot. But as you said, that there was a vein of truth in your joke. And so I believe, when I'm sensing and feeling, that you are an empath, that you do feel a lot of things, a lot of negative things from other people. Sometimes I will call them psychic vampires.
Oh, yeah.
They will suck us dry. That's why I don't go to Walmart. God bless people who work there. I don't go to Walmart or Kmart or any of those box
You know what?
stores.
Office Max is real bad. I worked for them. That was a real bad experience. Had a lot of that.
You know, and so I stay away from those types of places because I am just even covering myself with white light. If I have to run into Walmart, if I have to do it, if I can't get anyone else to do it or whatever, I cover myself with snow almost, of white light and snow and cotton balls and whatever, because I just want to run in there and come out. But sure as crap, you know, sometimes it's just overpowering.
Yeah.
And I can just look at people and they can look at me, and the minute I turn around, they're looking at me again, you know, and so that's creepy. So I try to stay away from it. But there's
do
tons
8
of
minutes in there.
Yeah, I'm in and out if I have to.
And then
which is
making the
not
eye
often.
contact. I can't make eye contact with a lot of people in there. And if it's over 8 minutes, I just start absorbing all the energy, the smells, everything. I have to go outside, get air, come back. It's horrible.
It is. It is very much so. You know, and so, you know, there's a lot of people out there that don't even have any idea that they're psychic vampires. They don't. They're so emotionally needy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They are. They will dress very provocatively and such like that because they want to be noticed and everything. And, but anyhow, my thing about Walmart is apparently these people must have carnival mirrors in their homes, because these folks come into Walmart in inappropriate dress and such like that. You know what I mean? I mean, there are heavy people in America. There are more heavy people, obese people now ever before, right? And they will wear the tightest damn clothes, which drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah.
These poor clothes are screaming, help me, you know. But anyhow, I stay away from
It looks like their bodies are eating their clothes. That's how
Like a
that's how,
sausage
skin
roll
tight
and
they are.
a string. Well, Zach, thank you for calling in, buddy.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, really quick, I do want to add to that of a Walmart story. I remember once I went to a Walmart over in Cleveland when I was out there, and I was in the Steelyard Commons, which was like a shopping center that used to be an industrial park. And I remember going in that Walmart and just getting the weirdest jives just from being in there. And like the big thing that I noticed is that a lot of the stuff was behind glass cases. And then you open it up to grab something, and an automated voice would say, "Thank you for shopping at Walmart." And my fiance and I were just looking at each other. We're like, "Let's get out of here. This is bad." This made my experience of being in a Walmart over in South Tucson to be just. It was over the top. I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back here at all. But anyway, Robert, thank you so much for hearing out my stories, man. I love hearing everything that you're saying, you know. And before I go, you know, I do want to say something. All right. Okay. I want to sing the birthday song to you. Okay. And anyone who knows the birthday song.
No, you can't. I probably get a copyright strike for that. I ain't joking.
Well, don't worry. There's no
you gotta come with a generic birthday song.
All right, don't worry. It's really short. This is your birthday song. It's very long. Hey,
there you go.
Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I have very good friends that live in the Phoenix area, and one of them is connected with the Amityville house.
Really?
Yes. I can't. I can say his first name, but I can't say his last name.
Okay.
His first name is Christopher. Very, very good
All right,
friend
my
of mine.
friends. Have a good night, okay?
You too, Zach. Talk to you later.
Good night, Zach.
Well, like I said, we had. I remember I had Jackie Barrett on here, and she corresponded quite often with Robbie Defoe, and this is before his passing. She was coming on the show and told him he contacted her and says, "I know you're going to be on a show tonight. I'll be watching." Like, so you're telling me Robbie Defoe's watching my show right now from prison? I'm like, I doubt that. Does he got YouTube in prison? She's like, I don't know, but he said he's going to be watching. And I'm like, oh, that's great. She also taught him how to astrally project, which I'm like, oh, great.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Wow. But anyhow, a good friend of mine does live in the Phoenix area. And yeah, he has very close connection with Amityville House. Okay, well, I can say that he lived there. He lived in that house during that time.
Ooh.
And so that's another story in itself.
No kidding. That's something that's been fascinating people for so long, and I'm up in the air about it. I mean, there's a lot to that whole case.
Right.
Now,
And
go ahead.
I was going to
segue into you have dealt with 2 exorcisms before. You've dealt with these kind of cases.
Right. One of them was with Kevin, and Kevin had heard me on a
Are you talking about Kevin Malik?
No,
Kevin.
I can't say Kevin's last name.
Okay.
I can't because of confidentiality and stuff like that. I can't say Kevin's last name.
Okay.
But Kevin didn't hear him. Kevin didn't hear me on the podcast. Kevin was a St. Louis or is a St. Louis Card fan, right? And I can say he lives in Colchester, Illinois, which is like 4 hours south and west of me. I live in Peoria, right? It's very close to the Mississippi River. It's very close to Monmouth, Illinois, and whatever. But anyhow, he was down in St. Louis with his girlfriend to a ball game, and he was sitting with his girlfriend watching the game, and these people behind him were talking about me. They had heard me on a podcast talking about what I do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin turns around, asks them if they have my telephone number, and I give my telephone number out, and I'll give it tonight also. And because he needed some questions answered and such. And so they gave me my telephone number and everything. Well, 2 weeks later, I get a call, 3:00 in the morning. It's not a time to go out to Baskin and Robbins,
Yeah.
And anyhow, so he calls me and he goes, my name is Kevin and I need your help. And the right side of me, when it tingles, it's a good side, right? But the left side, automatically, my body began to tingle, I began to feel all this negativity and such like that. And I said, yes, Kevin, can I help you? What's going on? And he said, there is something that is bothering me. And I said, listen, I'm a psychic medium, yes. I want to tell you what I'm sensing and feeling. But people want to tell their story, and I understand that. But for a psychic medium, the legitimate ones, right? We don't want to hear their story. If they're truly psychic medium, we will tell them their story, right? So Kevin wants to tell the story. I stop him and I said, this is what you're into. You're a drug addict. You're an alcoholic. You have dealt with the Ouija board. And again, not all people with Ouija board are going to be whatever, right? Anyhow, all at once, oh my God, this cackle came out of him. Ooh. It was unbelievable. It was like from a hag. It was just, I cannot put into words what my body was experiencing during this. And so then I started to say the prayer to St. Michael the Archangel, right? Anyhow, it calmed him down. I calmed the spirit inside of him down a bit, but the worst is ready to come out anytime. And anyhow, so Kevin was saying, yes, Robert, you are correct. I had played with the Ouija board a lot when I was drunk and I'm high, and I called for the demons and such like that. But I need your help. And all of us, he said, Robert, I see blood all over me. There's blood. And so psychically, I did see the blood, but it wasn't that he cut himself, but it was the demon inside of him. Because when a demon is inside of someone, they will change the person physically, emotionally, and spiritually, right? Everything about them. And so anyhow, I saw this blood and I prayed with Kevin, and the voice came out again. And I said, you have no power over Kevin. You have no power over me in the name of Jesus, right? And anyhow, so Kevin calmed down. And I kept calling his name Kevin, so then he would know that I'm here and such like that. And then Kevin was telling me a little more. He was telling me about his dog that he had for so many years. This dog's his buddy, right? But the dog was so scared of him that he was in a corner and he wouldn't come out because he was scared of Kevin. No, not scared of Kevin, but what was inside of Kevin, right? And anyhow, so this spirit comes out, and the spirit begins to talk in Greek and Latin. This is a good old boy that wouldn't know Greek or Latin from anything, right? You know, and being Italian and Spanish and me being Catholic, you know, but that we had to learn Latin in school, right? And so I knew what he was talking about, and basically what the demon was saying in Latin and Greek, that my God has no power over him, and my God will not protect me. And then I said to him, Satan, get behind Kevin. Satan, get behind me, right?
Right.
And he began to howl like an animal, and Kevin began to cry. And so then this demon came out of him again and said, Robert, I know where you live, and I can be there before your heart beats again, and I will show you my power. And he said, your angels aren't nothing. Angels it's a myth within your church and in your faith to make everyone feel soft and fuzzy.
They're warriors.
You know? And so again, I said the prayer to St. Michael the Archangel, and Kevin began to howl, this demon coming through him. And again, like I said, I prayed and such, and the demon came back and said, I will show you my power. Now, this is a God's truth. My brothers and sisters who are listening to this, please be very, very careful of what someone is telling you. Please be careful, because what happened was that my room, like tonight, it looks like a cathedral, all white candles everywhere, right? Each candle began to blow out, to go out. There was no air, you know what I mean? There was no air conditioning on, nothing like that at all. And I had no fans running, and each candle began to go out. And my left side began to tingle, and I began to pray again. And then all at once, there's something called echolalia. Do you know what that is, Jason?
No.
Jamie? Echolalia, because we have two sets of vocal cords. One of them is dormant, and the other one we're using, right?
Right.
The Tibetan monks.
Oh, yeah. Throat.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. And so they will use both at the same time.
Right.
So that's, and to me, that's just beautiful to hear them chanting and such.
Yeah.
All at once, Kevin, and this demon, it was using both sets of vocal cords, right? And I began to pray again. My left side was tingling, and Kevin, and so I kept saying, Kevin, I'm here. This is Robert. I'm here to help you and such. And then the evil one came out again and said, I know you still don't believe me, even after the candles went out in your room. And I never told Kevin how many candles I had, but the demon told me how many I had.
Yeah.
And then he said, to really tell you, and I want you to believe who I am going to tell you about you. I'm going to tell you about your past. And he began to howl again, began to cackle again. And let me tell you, my brothers and sisters who are listening to this, that this demon inside of him told me things that no one would ever hear on any podcast. Nothing. He told me that I was adopted, in which I am. Okay. And he told me other things and such like that. And that is one of the markers that within Roman Catholicism, that if a person can tell you something about yourself that nobody else would know. Right. And so anyhow, the phone goes dead. I try to get back to Kevin. It just goes right to voicemail. He's trying to call me. And for an hour and a half, for 90 minutes, there was no communication, none whatsoever. And so I really, really meditated even more and asked God to help Kevin to be with him. I asked my angels to have other angels to help Kevin. And finally, Kevin got back to me. And so we were talking. So he asked me, and now it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, right? And so anyhow, Kevin goes, can you come down and help me? And I said, Kevin, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. You live in Colchester, which is not easy to get to. It's on these back roads through the country and stuff like that. There's no interstates to go. And basically, I was going to be by myself. And my paranormal brothers and sisters, never go by yourself.
Never.
No, it is not safe because you don't know what's out there, really.
Or
Okay?
what he would do to you when you got there. I mean, there's a famous case of the Warrens, real quick, that we've shown on this show, where they did an exorcism on a guy and his head split open and blood started coming out and his eyes turned to slits. And later on, he shot his wife, tried to kill her before he shot himself. I mean, these things can get violent and dangerous.
Oh, very much so. So please take someone with you, wait until it's daylight, those types of things, right? So I told Kevin, I said, Kevin, I know because in all the Catholic dioceses of the United States that there's going to be a senior priest or a monsignor that knows something about the paranormal. If they don't know much about the paranormal, then they will refer you to someone who does.
Right.
So I have a good friend of Monsignor in Peoria Diocese, God rest his soul, now he's passed. And so I called him the following day and I said, hours later, basically. And I said, this is what's happening. I think that we need to go there. My spirit is urging me to go there. This young man has reached out to me. Is he a drug addict and alcoholic? Yes, he is. Has he played with the Ouija board? Yes, he did. And so we met at 9 o'clock. Father just got a brand new car going to Colchester. The car died. Couldn't get it. And we got overheated. We had a flat tire. I mean, things were just bizarre. Okay. But going back to my room just briefly, the horrible smell of the stench of sulfur, of rotten flesh, of dead animals, roadkill. It was unbelievable. And we even smelled that in the car getting closer to Kevin's house and stuff like that. And so we get to Kevin's, we finally find it and everything. And we were praying all this time also. We go to the door, Kevin meets us there, and he looks in bad shape, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And his real dark eyes, but you could just feel like he was just a whipped pup. You know what I mean? I really felt sorry for him. And so I asked him if I could give him a hug, and he said yes. And I remember the demon at that time whispered in my ear, if you think that you're going to protect Kevin, I will destroy you like I'm destroying Kevin. And I said a prayer again, so we sat down and such. And so Father had brought all these papers with us, right, to sign, that you give us permission to talk to you and to videotape and everything, right? And Kevin signed it. His girlfriend was there then, and she had experienced things with Kevin also. Right. And so we talked to him. The demon comes out again and starts on the priest, starts on my friend, and begins to tell Father some things about his past. And Kevin would never know this priest from Adam and Eve, Right. And but anyhow, so all this is being taped and everything. And it was so strange because right now in the corner of my eye, there was a face that just popped in my window. But don't worry, I'm safe.
Just now?
But that happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
She asked just now?
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yes. And so we talked to Kevin more. This is all being taped. We were down there for about 4 hours. His girlfriend was there, like I said. The dog did come out when we were there. The dog felt safe. And Kevin would just go in and out of being what I would consider truly possession. Yeah. But again, it was not for me to say, it is for the church to say, yes, he is truly possessed, right? And so anyhow, so we left and told Kevin that we would get back to him immediately. And so we drove back to Peoria, and the car worked fine on the way back.
Yeah,
it worked
you're leaving.
fine. Yeah. So there's no problems. But anyhow, and so the Monsignor wrote all this up and everything, and I signed it, and I wrote some things also. And we gave the papers to the bishop and everything. The bishop read it. Monsignor talked to the bishop as well. I talked to the bishop of Peoria also. And then the bishop said that he would send this information. He was going to fax it to Loyola Medical Center in Maywood, Illinois, where the Jesuits are at, and also to the Cardinal in the Chicago Archdiocese. Anyhow, that was all done. 24 hours later, the Cardinal signed off, yes, bring him up here. And so contacted Kevin and his girlfriend. And so they agreed at any time during this, my brothers and sisters who are listening to this, that Kevin could have said, no, forget it. I don't want to go through this and such like that. And because Kevin's not Catholic, and again, we don't try to convert anyone to anything, not at all, right? But anyhow, and so they both go with us a week later to Loyola Medical Center in Maywood, Illinois, and he went through this battery of tests to make sure that there was nothing neurologically wrong with him and such like that. And so there's a lot of blood work, MRIs, CAT scans, those types of things. Psychiatrists have talked to him. 3 different psychiatrists talked to him, and some psychologists, and all these are priests, right?
Yeah.
And so anyhow, so it was deemed that he was not psychiatrically ill, except for the fact that he is an alcoholic and drug addict at that time and stuff like that. And so we already knew that. But anyhow, so the possession part, they decided that he was truly possessed, because all this time that he was in Loyola Medical Center and also in this monastery, I stayed with him. It wasn't safe for his girlfriend, so she stayed with a group of nuns just right down the street from them. And so I stayed with him. And even during that time, the evil one came out and did all sorts of things. And when you see that firsthand, when you see that and you think to yourself, are you sure that you just saw that, Robert? Like stuff moving on the table, or a door handle rattling, and those types of things and such like that. And so the body kind of says, no, I didn't, you know what I mean? Tries to say, no, you really didn't see that. It really tries to protect ourselves, right? And, but anyhow, so just not myself, but the other priest saw it also. And so the day of his exorcism, we being Catholic, we went to confession first, we received the sacraments and those types of things, right? And so again, Kevin could say no at any given time. He could have said no. Even during the exorcism, Kevin could have said, no, I don't want to do this, right?
We got to go to commercial break, so we're gonna hold it there, our last commercial break. And I got somebody waiting on hold. 860 area code is what's coming up on my phone. You stay on hold. We'll get to your call after we come back from the short commercial break. But we do got to go to commercial break. And that's the wrong music. That's the right music. We do got to go to commercial break, and we will be right back. It will be a very short one. We will be right back after the short commercial break.
Intercepted the transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on has 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up.
Do, re,
be gone.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, we've been talking to a guest, psychic medium Robert Righi. It is his birthday. He's been honored to have him join us on his birthday to talk about all of his incredible experiences in the realm of the paranormal. not just as a psychic medium, but as a criminal profiler for 30 years in Florida. He interviewed Ted Bundy. We talked about that quite a bit tonight. If you missed that, you're just joining. You'll definitely want to go back and watch and listen to that. I try to keep him from being too graphic about it, and people ask, I do know sometimes 13-year-olds might be watching the show. I might have some young kids that tune in, so I try to keep it PG-13. And I'm not much into the gore. We do have somebody waiting on the phone line. We're going to get to your phone call in just a second. I saw somebody else asking about, I got Robert on one line, so there's only really one phone line open. The 219-230-4444 is the way to call in by phone, or Skype ID OOJBland00. That's the two ways to call in, but there's only one line. So if you choose to call in and you can't get through, it's because I got somebody else waiting. This person's been waiting a while, so we're going to get to them in just a second. But we're also continuing Robert's experience with an exorcism with a young man named Kevin, who was demonically possessed, and Robert went to help him with the help of the Catholic Church to exorcise him. I believe these things are real. Everybody knows about my experience I had when I was 18 that changed my life, where I felt either demon or shadow person or whatever it was that attacked me, it knew everything about me. And then when he says these demons speak to you and they know things about you, that's so true to my experience, that when this thing tried to go after me, it knew all my weaknesses, it knew all my inner fears, it knew everything. How that happens, I don't know, but these evil knows your weaknesses, just so you know. But we got a lot more to get to and only a half an hour to do it, so let's get back to the show.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you for hanging in there with us, Robert.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
go ahead and continue your story.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you there.
Oh, no, it's fine. So anyhow, I will cut this short. But anyhow, so we take Kevin, he do the battery test and such like that. It is time now to do the exorcism. The priest, there were 5 priests in there. Father Michael, people may know who he is from the Zach Bagan's house in Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
He was the priest that did the exorcism and such like that, right? Father Michael is a very, very nice man. He's a good friend of mine now. And but anyhow, he went through a battery test, and so it was time for the exorcism, and we went to mass and those types of things, got ourselves prepared for anything. Always expect the unexpected, right? And but anyhow, so we went in there, and any given time, again, Kevin could have said, no, I don't want to go through this. He had to sign papers. It was going to be videotaped, because the videotape at this very moment is in the Vatican, and it is used with other tapes and such like that to instruct, to teach seminarians who want to become exorcists.
Right.
Okay. And but anyhow, that tape will come back to Kevin and myself in 2022, and so we get it back. But again, so Kevin's prepared as much as anybody can be prepared. I know the demons. I know the demon's name, but I'm not going to say it because it's because to me it's a calling card, right?
Exactly.
The demon already the demon already knows.
It's Lord Voldemort. You don't say the name, right? Harry Potter.
Right. And so then, but anyhow, so we get ready, and so my part of the exorcism was to say some of the prayers. Okay, Father Michael's job was to exorcise him, let's get this demon out, right? And the first thing that Father Michael did was that he said the rosary. We all said the rosary. There was a psychiatrist, a priest that was a psychiatrist, a priest that was a medical doctor, and those types of priests were in there and such, right? And Kevin also signed a form if he needed to be restrained.
Right.
Okay. And anyhow, so it was time for the exorcism. We all prayed first, and Father Michael used just plain water. And so we sprinkled that on Kevin, and the demon came out and just laughed. Okay. I was probably 2 feet from Kevin. Kevin wanted me to hold his hand, and Father Michael said that was fine, only to a point. Okay.
Right.
And so the demon laughed when it came to not holy water, but just plain water. And then when he sprinkled Kevin with real holy water and everything, Kevin's body began to shake, began to quiver, all sorts of things, right? His body began to contort, his neck. My brothers and sisters, let me tell you that exorcisms are nothing to mess with if you don't know what you're doing. So please, If you don't know what you're doing, let the professionals do their job, please. Okay? Anyhow, and so then Father Michael put a crucifix to Kevin's head, and all at once there was an indentation in Kevin's forehead. And he began to howl, began to cackle, and those types of things. He began to thresh around, and his grip on me was getting stronger and stronger to the point where I couldn't feel my hand anymore. And so Father Michael came over and released his hand from mine and such like that. But I stayed in very close proximity to him because I wanted him to know that I was there to help him, right? So the prayers of exorcism were beginning and such like that. Let me tell you, my brothers and sisters, that what I felt, and right now I'm in this room, and to see this man go through this, it's horrifying. It's horrifying because all at once the demon come out and knew our names. Of course, the demon had already, told me about me and such. Well, he began to attack Father Michael. And we were told prior to that, don't have any dialogue. Right. You don't talk to the demon at all, except for Father Michael. And so the demon came out and started to talk about Father Michael and stuff like that. And so the prayers got to be more and more. And Kevin's body just reacted. Things in the room began to move. The stench, the sulfur, the death, the negativity. Kevin's body changed in front of us. His physique changed. His neck got real thick. He wet himself. He defecated. He began to vomit. Wow. Other things happened too. I'm not going to go into a lot of that either. But it was just the fact that after 37 hours, but we did stop at times because physically his body could not take. Right. It had to rest. We had to give him nourishment, of course, those types of things and such. And we needed to get out of the room, but there was always a priest with him at all times and such. And so then we would come back and then we would continue these prayers. And I could go into a lot of the gore and such like that, but just the fact that evil does exist. When I hear these people go into all these places, right, and they'll say, oh, there must be a demon. Please, give me a break, okay? Not all places you're going to go to have a demon, right? Okay? Kevin had asked for this demon to come in because of the alcoholism, drug addiction, playing with the Ouija board and all sorts of things.
Open borders.
Yeah, and but just being in the same room and experiencing that, and like I said, after 37 hours and seeing things move, seeing walls shake, seeing different things like what fly into the window. The window was closed, of course, but just the birds that would just like slam into the window and stuff like that. And but it was horrifying. And this one point, Kevin's respirations became very, very dangerous. And so another priest who was a medical doctor came in, and his heart rate was so fast. And that was almost at the end of the exorcism, that his heart rate was going too fast. And so this priest suggested that Father Michael stop, and Father Michael said, we can't, because right at that point, it was the most crucial part of this exorcism that we had to continue. But after 37 hours, Kevin is Kevin again. And the air changed in the room. You know what I mean? It just changed, But to be in a room, to feel that evil, to know that you're just feet away from evil, and the evil one continues to just not affect Kevin, but also me and the other priests also, because you hear it in your mind. Yeah. You hear it in your mind constantly. And my brothers and sisters who are listening to this, the evil one will come to you in dreams. You know what I mean? And so there's all different spheres of your life, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, that this demon wants to take over completely. Okay? And after 37 hours, and like I said, I could go into more detail, which would last.
I want to get to this phone call because they've been hanging on for a while now. So I want to see who we got. 860 area code. Thanks for hanging in there. Who do we got?
Hi, Jason. It's Azariana.
Hey, Azariana. Thanks for hanging in there.
Fascinating guest tonight. Fascinating guest. Well, first of all, I wanted to say happy birthday, Robert.
Well, thank you, dear. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do. I haven't. Well, today, this week has been an anniversary of something that I dealt with, and I kind of wanted to explain that to you, if possible. We had a tragedy in our town, in my town, a while back, and where the family was, the daughters and the mother were killed, and only the father survived, and very tragic. The whole, and every year we have a little ceremony to remember them, but I have had nightmares since this tragedy where I'm actually in the place where they were killed. And it's bothered me for quite a while. And it's very, it's very emotional and I can't get rid of it. But every year it seems, the rest of the year I'm fine. But like a week before the anniversary of it, I start having either nightmares where I'm back there, and I can't sleep, and I'm emotional, and I actually see them, see the people, and so I know how it is when you were explaining with Ted Bundy, the serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gotten a little, I would say it's gotten a little better. It used to be worse. Now it's at least, like I said, at least, the week before the tragedy. But it used to be a lot more, It is very overwhelming. And I was wondering, has talking to these people, communicating with these people, has it gotten better, or have you just learned to live with it? I learned to live with it, but that's my question.
Okay. Dear, that life continues, and a lot of times that during the anniversary of one's death, tragic as it is, it will be just like it happened 2 hours ago. Do you know what I mean? And so we relive that. But you know what? Our life continues. Your friends or acquaintances who were killed, who are past now, who are in heaven, they're at peace. They want you to be at peace also, okay? I'm going to get my telephone number out, okay? You call me and we can go into more detail, and I will assist you to make you more relaxed about this ordeal, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very much.
God bless you.
Thank you. And like I said, great guest. I love hearing, I could listen for hours. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
So he's got a phone number he's going to give out for you here too, if you want to give that phone number out, Robert.
Okay. Yes, my telephone number is 309-213-0325. If anyone has any questions, need my assistance, I must also tell you that I do not charge for anything that I do, because my gifts and talents come.
Can you put it up on the screen? Because I can.
Yeah, I'll type it
I'm on my phone. Thank you. Thank you. And blessings to everybody.
Thank you, dear. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, it didn't type anything. Dang it. Oh, my numlock's on. That's why. All right, I'm trying to type it in. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, okay.
So I can have it in there. It's not easy for me to have my computer way far away from me.
Oh, I see. And so my exorcism, or not but the exorcism of Kevin is doing wonderfully now. He remembers some of it, not all of it.
I find that
he doesn't
when they don't remember. It seems to be common.
And the body does that to protect us. It's a normal response of the body. I talk to Kevin at least once a month. He's doing wonderfully now. He's married to his girlfriend. and he has a wonderful job. He has moved out of the home that he was living in, and he lives in another city, which I'm not going to say. And but he's doing wonderfully. He's not ready to do a podcast with me, but when he is, Jason, I will let you know.
Yeah, please. I'd love to
Okay.
have him tell his experience. I mean, I know parts of it he doesn't remember. You know, I find interesting is listening tonight. I didn't plan on us going so dark. It's just hard not to get, interested in this topic of evil and darkness, because I've met people, psychic mediums, are like, don't want to talk about it at all, or they pretend it doesn't exist. But to me, it's like you have to know it exists.
Right. Oh, yeah, very much so.
It is the enemy. But what I found interesting is tonight, you brought up a couple times mentioning psychic vampires. I watch a show called What We Do in the Shadows. And there's a character on there named Colin Robinson, and he's not like the other vampires. He's a psychic vampire. And he's been my favorite character on the show because it's something that's actually, I believe, maybe there really are blood-sucking vampires, but I do know there are psychic vampires. And,
amen.
Yeah. And look what Ted Bundy did in that room with you guys in that 90 minutes. He looked for ways to psychically, in my opinion, get energy from like the ladies, to get emotional reactions and to draw that out of them. And his whole purpose of killing people was to see the terror and get the fear. My experience with the shadow person or demon that I dealt with fed off my fear.
Right.
And I've always look at things like in a religious view, and religion sometimes is just a way of explaining things we don't understand scientifically.
Amen.
That there are things on the other side that are parasitic, that attach to us. You call them demons, we call them shadow people, we call them whatever. It's all semantics. But in the end, they're a parasitic entity that's intelligent, that reflects our fears or wants our fears to feed off of that particular energy. And look what that demon was doing when we were trying to exorcise it. It would move stuff in the room. Your common reaction to that for you and even the priest is you're supposed to ignore it. Well, reason being is you don't want to give the rise of fear.
Right.
Give it fuel. You're trying to suffocate the scene of fuel, of what it needs.
Right. It's very, very true. And also, my paranormal brothers and sisters, it is not getting over the fear. It is understanding the fear inside of us. Okay. A lot of times that paranormal groups will run out of a house or wherever they're at. Right. But it's just a fact that I have been instructing folks that to understand the fear, why we are fearful. And that helps greatly. It really does. And maybe we can talk about that on another podcast sometime.
Yeah.
But anyhow, the other exorcism, but Kevin's doing beautiful. Like he really is. Like I said, I talk to him once a month. He's doing great. But at any time, Father Michael said right before he left, and we were both up there 2 weeks later just to recuperate and such like that. But Kevin knows at any given time, if he slips back into that old behavior, that he could be repossessed. So he has to be very, very careful. And he is. He is. No more drinking, no more drugs, nothing like that at all. No more Ouija board, nothing like that at all. But I believe that God puts us where we need to be at any given time. Kevin, those people that talked to him and gave him my telephone number just didn't happen by chance.
Right. I agree.
But with this other exorcism with Vivian, just briefly, Vivian was reared and raised in a satanic home.
Oh, geez.
She was ritually raped when she was 8, and she got pregnant at 10, had an abortion inside the home, and then at the age of 13, she was pregnant again, and there was an abortion done in her home then also. Vivian's is totally different. Vivian was psychiatrically ill because when she was ritually raped, that was just a fact that all at once they used to use the word her personality splintered.
Right.
It wasn't Vivian getting raped. It was something else, someone else, right?
Yes.
Right. And so anyhow, what we did, we had to, myself and also psychologists and psychiatrists that we all worked together, that we had to integrate 4 of the personalities. Only one of her personalities was possessed.
Right.
And that's a whole nother story of Vivian. And so we can go through that another time.
I really actually would love. I wish we could have covered more, had time to cover the Vivian, because I've always been fascinated with multiple personalities, because I always felt like it's a clue to what we are.
Right.
Yes, it happens a lot of times to people under extreme conditions of torture.
Right. Right. Very much.
But also sensory deprivation. Like Sybil. I mean, she was tortured by her mother. I mean, a lot of people say that the whole case is not real. I'm like, whatever. But there are cases like this where people are sent POWs, where they're cut off of light and sensory, even noise. And what does the brain do in its natural state of, having no input? It creates input. It creates a new reality. It creates new characters.
Yeah, very much so. It does, because that protects the body. That protects them emotionally,
Yeah.
And for Vivian's case, we could talk 3 hours about Vivian sometime. And because it is so different and so unique. Okay, so we can go through that another time. But some other time, Jason, I know we're running out of time, but it's just that I would like to speak sometime about the children of the paranormal, and also the children that I am with in the last moments of their lives, hours before that. And I know that I sent you pictures of the children. Those are the children that I have been with, some of them.
Yeah. I didn't know. I'm a little uncomfortable always showing pictures of children if I don't know, like, I'm saying, showing a minor. It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to reveal that, or, I'm sure you have permission. I just get a little nervous about it.
And so that's fine. And I understand that. Confidentiality, I will never give their name. I can give their first names, but never their last names, never the location also. Yeah. Okay. But I know that I've asked the parents before. They have given me permission. In fact, if we ever want to do it, I will send you a copy of their release. Okay. But so it's up to you. But again, if anyone needs my assistance, it's 309-213-0325. So please reach out to me. If it's above my above my pay scale, as I say, then I will refer you to someone that can assist you. Okay.
As a paranormal investigator, I mean, I had what I consider a shadow person or demonic experience at 18 years old, and I've run into people I felt were maybe demonically influenced or possessed at times, but most of the time, there was one case really felt like somebody, he was, of course, under the influence of alcohol, but I felt there was definitely a demonic presence there, or something attached to him. But most of the time, most cases, it's just a haunted house, or it's nothing, it's not, we want people to be as aware of its existence. We don't want to, people need to be aware there is things that exist on another level that can harm you. But not every case, not every haunting is going to be that. Because I would go into so many cases and the clients would be like, oh, it's a demon. I'm like, well, we'll see. Because if it is, I'm going to hand it off to somebody else because I'm not dealing with that.
Right.
I'm going to try to help you and find somebody to help you, but I'm not the guy to help you with that.
Right. And, also my paranormal brothers and sisters who are listening to this, we must always validate, if we go into a residential and the folks begin to tell you what happened, you must validate what they're experiencing because it's their experience. It's not yours. Yeah. Okay? You may go there with all this equipment and God bless you and such like that. I have nothing to do with it because I don't know how to use it in the first place. Secondly, I don't have to because of my psychic abilities and mediumship. Only by the grace of God, okay? But we must validate because a lot of times people will go and I get calls, from different groups saying, well, these people are saying this and that and whatever, but we get nothing. And I said, well, spirits are not like circus animals. Yeah. They don't come out on a cue. You know what I mean? So anyhow, we must always be respectful when we go in and those types of things. And so that's another story in itself, too, to talk about the residential and the things that I have done to assist people. And let me tell you that when I work with a family, it just isn't for 1 hour or 2 hours. I do follow up. It is like a continuous follow-up. You know what I mean? Yeah. To make sure they're okay, to make sure there's nothing else going on. Because let me tell my brothers and sisters that there's always going to be an emotional or traumatic or psychological thing going within the family itself. There is something that's bringing it out. I like to go cold into anything, right? I will tell them. People want to tell their stories, and God bless them. I'm going to tell them what I'm sensing and what I'm picking up and what I'm feeling.
It's the validation part.
Yeah, it is very much so. And but anyhow, Jason, I appreciate this so very, very much. There is more that we could talk about.
Oh yeah, I know.
And so whenever you want me back on, please let me know.
It shouldn't have taken 4 years to get you back on. I should have got you on sooner. Because
okay.
the last time we had you on, we only did a 2-hour show back then. And so we really ran out of time to talk about things. I remember, I think, got to the end and found out about Ted Bundy. Like, oh, we're going to have you back on. So that's why I kind of got into it tonight. But, I think you're such an incredible person. I enjoyed that, we've got to know each other having you on this show. Because, like I said, it takes somebody with a really big heart and also made of steel to, go in not just to an exorcism, but to console a family and be there for a child who's terminally ill.
Yes, very much so. And that is, and it's a blessing. And I believe, like I said before, that God puts us where we need to be at any given time. And so, and so these children that I've been with, 20-some children now, and in what I experience, what the child experiences, what the parents experience is incredible. But at the very end, when this beautiful angel comes to these children, and I always tell these children and tell the families, I am here to only walk part of the way with you. And this beautiful angel is going to take you to a place where there's no more needles, no more hospitals. You can go swimming. You can play soccer. You can play baseball. You can play football. And it's the most wonderful, serene, tranquil, peaceful place. And to be with those children and also experiencing after the child goes to heaven, and the parents to hear a mother weeping and wailing for their child. Let me tell you, Jason, and my paranormal brothers and sisters who are listening to this, it changed my life. Yeah. But it's something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah, it does.
It's
hard for me. It's hard for me as a parent. Like I said, I can't even watch a kid get killed in a movie anymore without just not wanting to watch.
Right. So again, sometime if you want to talk about it, that's fine. And if you feel uncomfortable, that's fine too. And I understand that, and I respect you for that.
I think we need to talk about it. I won't shy away from it. I feel bad that we always we get into the dark side of things, but it's something we do need to have you back on to talk about because it's important. I mean, grief, and that's the ultimate grief. I couldn't imagine the worst nightmare or hell.
Right. And did also things that I do are like past life regression.
Yes.
You can go into that.
I've had my past life, two very vivid past life experiences I've talked exhaustively on the show about probably. So yeah, that's another aspect. There's always so much, and I can't believe we did a 2-hour show last time we had you on. How we got by doing just 2 hours then with you, but it's been such a pleasure, Robert. Again, his phone number is 309-213-0325. If you need help, Robert's there free of charge. Psychic medium. I mean, it's hard to find people that really are that volunteering their services like that anymore.
Well, I believe that God created me to do this, and my motto is that we are spiritual beings in a physical body. And I want to say hi to Jay Hill and to Mark Lynn and to all of my friends who may be listening. And thank you again, Jason and Jamie. And I appreciate this so very, very much. And we will talk soon. Okay.
Yes. And again, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored you spent it with us. But that is it for the show, guys. We are done. We will be back next Sunday. Hopefully no more 2-week periods of being gone. So we'll be back next Sunday because I got a really great guest that's been on before. It's Paul Blake Smith, and it's been out for a year. I have the book right here. Let me show it. And I wanted to have him on a year ago, and we missed out on the opportunity. But we are going to get him on. This is the book. Is the President Eisenhower's Close Encounters. Yes, we've talked about President Eisenhower and his close encounters with UFOs and aliens. Paul Blake Smith wrote a book about it, and I can't wait to have him on next Sunday. Same bad time, same bad channel, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern. I'm getting my times wrong here. 8 p.m. 11 p.m. Pacific time. Go look it up on the show. But that's it, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks to everybody who shares the show out. Thanks to everybody who donates. Don't forget, you can always donate on Super Chat on YouTube. It allows you to donate money to the YouTube channel, I guess. We get money from that. I just actually got a paycheck that helps pay the bills for this show. I do need help. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this show. things are going the way they are with the economy and my job, but I will keep trying because I love doing this. I love having all you guys here. You're all such a great group in the chat room. Thank you to everybody who shares it out. Hopefully, we will see you next Sunday. Have a great night. Have a great week.